Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and Council Work Session. Today is Thursday, May 8th, 2014, approximately 7 p.m. If we'd all kindly rise for the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll start off with those folks that signed in. Bob Stevenson, we'll call you up first, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is my first meeting this year, and I see some new faces and some old faces, and I've been watching the meetings on TV, and it's a lot better than it was. So keep up the good work. It wasn't my intention to do that in front of everybody, but my real intent tonight is to use the referendum of the television to tell people to vote no on the library tax referendum. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Marilyn Kahn.
Cool.
Cohen? I was close.
Marilyn Cohn, resident of Monroeville. I'm also here to ask the residents of Monroeville vote no for the library tax. On Tuesday, May 20th, is the primary election day. On the ballot, there will be a referendum for a 1 mil library tax. The municipality puts funds for the library in their budget, and the library also receives Allegheny County RAD tax money. If this referendum fails, we still will have a library in Monroeville. Knowing that we will have a library, why does a library want to tax every homeowner, renter, and business in Monroeville? If this proposed tax passes, 1 mil will be assessed on every home and business, and we will be paying approximately $100 additional library tax on every 100,000 assessed property. Yes, this will affect all of Monroeville. This will go into effect 2015. This is not a temporary tax. You will give the library approximately $2.3 million per year. Why does a library need this kind of money? The library board can increase the 1 mil to 2 mils and even higher in 2016 or thereafter. And council and the residents cannot have a say. The library board does not have to be accountable to council or the residents on how they spend this money. The people in outlying areas will pay nothing. Don't give the library board an open door to raise our taxes. This is the only way to defeat this referendum is to vote no on May 20th. Let's speak loud and clear. Please vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ralph Greco. Please state your name. You already signed in, Ralph, so you're good.
Ralph Greco, Monroeville.
I just want to say no to the library. I think it's ridiculous, but I do have some questions. Is it possible that Carnegie Mellon would take over this library?
I don't know that off top. I don't think that they do that anymore. Tim, can you help me?
Ralph, no, we looked into that 2-3 years ago in the county. I believe you're talking about the county, Allegheny
Yeah.
County. No, Allegheny County cannot, nor would they, take over our library,
Okay,
to put it in a Reader's Digest version.
okay. Well, the other thing I want people to understand, that we'll be up to what, 5 mills almost?
It would absolutely be 5, yes.
That'll be the highest taxes in Allegheny County.
In the east, not here.
In the
Not in the
east.
east. Not in Allegheny County, but definitely in the east.
Okay.
For the cities our size.
Which is going to mean it's going to be harder to sell your home when the time comes. People looking for homes, the first thing they do is look at the taxes. And if the taxes are higher than somewhere else, they're going to go somewhere else. And same thing with the businesses. They're going to move. And we'll end up like a lot of other areas where they lost all their businesses. And I just, I don't think the money's necessary. And that's about it, I really think that people have to remember one thing. This is going to be a low turnout. And for the first time, I've seen both the Republicans and Democrats against this. And that's really unusual to see both parties being against it. So I think the public better make sure they get out there and vote. Because if they get all the people out there from the library that they want, it could be tough going. And that's about it.
Thank you, Ralph.
Oh, I would like to say one thing
Sure.
else. I just want to thank JJ, because he patrols our area constantly.
Patrols?
Yep.
Okay.
He really does.
Why do you think he has a Jeep?
Yeah. And make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. And I want to thank him for doing that. Because there's not too many councilmen that would ride around, and he pretty near takes a trip through the whole plan every day. And thank you, Jim.
Oh, you're welcome.
Go ahead.
Ralph, I just want to clarify about the taxes for the benefit of the people here and the benefit of the voters. At the public hearings for the budget, now we increase taxes and we're at 4 mills right now. And as I stated at the public hearing for the budget, we're at 4 mills out of 132 municipalities in Allegheny County. We're tied for 36th lowest, all right, which keeps us in the bottom 25 percentile. Now, where another additional tax would be with the library, now that wouldn't be a general tax, that would be a separate, special tax. Where that would put us at 5 mills, I don't know, okay? But I for the benefit of the voters, that we're at number 36 out of 132 in Allegheny County right now as it stands, just so the public knows that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, John, and I apologize, I can't read your last name. I don't want to use your address, but,
Is it Macbeth Drive?
yes, well, I didn't want to say that out loud. You did.
Okay, I feel like David versus Goliath because I'm going to speak in favor of the library.
That is certainly your right, sir.
State your name, sir.
Oh, sure. My name is John F. Shea, S-H-E-A.
Thank you.
I think the reason for the tax is to have direct funding. And if I can use an analogy, when I first came here, we had local bus services. In fact, where I live, I live in an apartment in Burnham Wood, I could step out, and that was one of the leasing office, one of their selling points was that I could get the bus. And as the years went on, there seemed to be a crisis every 2 or 3 years, and the funding with the transit system became less. And then the buses, the service became longer waits. And I know when Ed Rendell was governor, he tried to get direct source, pretty much as the library did. And he was I think it's the same situation that the library would need a direct source of money. Now, as far as, we do get money, but according to some of the statistics I have here, that the municipal funding has dropped by about 4,000 since 2010, and the 80,000 district and state funding has dropped by 80,619. Also, the direct tax, I think, also goes for capital improvements. I mean, I imagine the funding for this is for the maintenance of the library, but as the library is a 50-year-old building and it needs various upkeep, I think it has to be, I think that would be a direct funding would be the way to go. The other thing about property, selling property and things like that, we also have to remember, and also the funding, is that we were in a severe recession, and property has suffered throughout the country. And the other thing is this: if the library has no guarantee that next year or the year after the funding would be cut again. So I feel that this is the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir.
All right.
Tara Rotuna, I hope I'm saying your last name right. If I messed it up, I apologize. Oh, I was close, maybe. Not even close, huh?
It's okay. My name is Tara Rotuna.
Rotuna.
I am a citizen of Monroeville, and I am also the secretary of the Monroeville Public Library Board. I want to tell all the citizens that the decision to move forward with this referendum was not motivated by greed or a desire to raise taxes for the citizens of Monroeville. This decision was very difficult. It was not taken lightly. The goal of this tax, as John said, was to obtain dedicated, guaranteed, sustainable funding to ensure that the library can meet the needs of the Monroeville community and be an asset for the next 50 years and beyond. The decision was really motivated by survival. The discussion about a dedicated tax for the library started in 2012 when the municipality was trying to balance the budget. In that year, the library requested less money, and quoting an article from the Times Express, the library cut programs and did not fill vacant positions, said Christy Fusco. The article continues, if Monroeville wants more, the library could cut hours, increase late fees, charge usage fees for rooms, or combine services with another library. A library tax is also an option, said Mr. Little. In the municipal budget, the library is deemed a non-essential service. Therefore, it is subject annually to not only budget reductions, but is subject to being cut entirely. I believe it is voted upon every year whether the library will receive funding or not receive funding. I'm not questioning that anyone here does not want to fund the library. However, when the next council comes in, the next municipal manager comes in, will the vote be to continue to fund the library? If the library does not have municipal funding, the library will close. The library relies on the municipal funding to operate. The library also receives state funding based on municipal funding, so that's very important. I have been asked some questions in talking about this referendum, and I would like to clarify a few things. One question I was asked is why would the library request this after council raised property taxes for next year? The fact of the matter is that we have been thinking about this since 2012 and actually put the petition out before property taxes were raised. We also went forward, and I know it was not anyone here, but we were also informed by previous members of council and municipal managers that there would be no tax raise for next year. And that's one of the reasons we went forward. Would the library receive 1.5 mils in funding? No. If this referendum passes, the library would no longer receive any funding from the municipality. It would be a direct tax. Would the 1.0 mill tax ever be raised? And the answer is no. The board does not have the power to raise this tax. It would have to go back to the voters. It would have to be another vote. The board is accountable. The budget does go to the municipality for review. And I will tell you that myself and the other board members are very conscientious about the money that is given to us. We check bills, we check invoices, we check contracts. We try to make sure that any type of service that's needed for the library stays in Monroeville. We are extremely conscientious about that. Another question is, what would the funding be for? It would be for the maintenance and operation of the library, including to make it more handicap accessible, which includes fixing the current lift or installing an elevator. The library's 50-year-old electrical system is having trouble keeping up with the number of computers that we have. The HVAC system is constantly in need of repair. The vestibule floods when there are heavy rains, and these are just some of the examples of what we would need the funding for. If the tax does not pass, will the library close? Again, that depends on having sustainable funding. And the last item that I will address is I've been asked, why should the library be funded at all? Aren't libraries obsolete? And I don't use the library. I do not have children, and I never will have children, but yet I pay school taxes. I receive no direct benefit from paying school tax, but I know that having a strong and vibrant school system benefits our community and me as a citizen, and that it keeps property values high. That's the same with the library. I can also tell you that libraries are not obsolete. Now more than ever, the library staff is needed to help people make sense of all the information they find online. There are people checking out books, ebooks, CDs, DVDs. There are 400 people who meet every month at the library, and about that many who come to participate in programs. There are people who do not come through the doors, but they still use the library. Senior citizens receive materials through the mail, and people download books from the website. I would ask the voters to please consider the importance of the library as a strong community asset. It is our community center. We don't have a downtown. It's a place where people gather, and it's important to a lot of people. So I really hope that everyone, whether you vote yes or whether you vote no, I wanted you to have this information. I value everybody's opinion in this matter and respect everybody's opinion. I just wanted you to have the information, and I truly believe that the library is a very valuable asset to Monroeville. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Diane Lindsay, and I'm a resident of Monroeville. I've been a resident of Monroeville for 28 years. When we first arrived, I came to the library to find out about how to register to vote and to pick up tax forms and to get my library card. And I do have to say that our house value in 28 years has doubled. So I think probably that's true of everybody here. And a lot of it is thanks to the value and the high ranking of the library and the school system. After our daughter was born, we were frequent visitors to the children's room and the children's story hours. And in our family, we read, let's say, 3 books a month. So the value about $60. So we save $720 a year on purchasing books. And of course, over 28 years, that's a lot of money. I have served on the library board of directors, and I am now president of the Friends of the Monroeville Public Library. But today, I am speaking personally because I love the library. It would be very smart for the library to be self-sufficient. A steady tax would ensure income for planning purposes, and it would free up the municipality funds for your core services. Together, all of us through the years have supported the library. It is the heart of Monroeville. It is open 7 days a week during the school year, the only department that is. So I ask you to please vote yes on the tax referendum so the library can become self-sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry Schwartz. Harry, you already signed in. Just state your name for the record.
It's Harvey
Harvey, I'm sorry. It looks,
I
yeah, you're
think
right.
it's-
I'm sorry.
I don't spell too well.
No, it's my fault. 'Cause I even know you. My fault.
I forgot my glasses at home, so I couldn't check the label. My mom was sold it in my underwear.
I don't even know what to say to that, Harv.
That's usually the case. I'm a little confused because I got a telephone call the other day, and it seems to come from Florida. And perhaps some of these esteemed people who sit in the exalted positions on the library would tell me who is funding these phone calls that are hitting throughout this area from Florida and Illinois and New York, pushing the yes vote. Anybody want to tell me about that?
I made some calls yesterday on my private cell phone.
Uh,
We have a voters list.
Oh, I understand
I
that.
wasn't in Florida,
You weren't in Florida.
right here in Monroe.
I'm not too bright, but I can usually
Address me,
identify,
Harv.
professional fundraisers and professional pollsters. And these people are professionals. So somebody is actually paying to push out a vote for some basic reason. I don't understand it. I am normally a person who supports libraries. But in this case, I have to be candid, I'm against it. I'm against subsidizing the borough of Pitcairn, Murraysville, the borough of Plum, the city of Pittsburgh, and all of these other places that have people that come in and use the library system. This is not a Monroeville library. It is a regional library. Therefore, it should be funded throughout the entire region. I don't believe Pitcairn is being polled as to their feelings on this, nor do I feel that the people who are involved in this are people who are homeowners in the situation that many of us find ourselves in. There's a very large, disproportionate number of older people who have limited incomes, live on Social Security, who received a very small Social Security increase this year. These people are paying additional Medicare funds, which will be going up as I understand it. And, you know, you can check me if I'm wrong, but usually what Social Security does, I ain't wrong about. And
Excuse me, Harv.
what's going on is we are being hurt. I really appreciate the fact that the value of my house may have gone up, may have doubled, tripled, or quadrupled. But I don't get none of that until I sell the damn house. So I got to live on a very, very low income with no increases. Now, we have to fund certain things. There are necessities to fund the basic municipal services. I don't object to funding the library up to a certain point. But, you know, there are other ways to fund it. Perhaps the library should consider selling memberships so that the people who use the library pick up the freight. Now, that may be a bad idea. I may be entirely backward and very, very wrong in my thinking. But I don't believe that putting a tax on people in Monroeville and senior citizens in Monroeville who, in most cases, are getting little or no increase should have to fund it. Not only aren't we getting an increase, but I just got a statement from two local banks. One gave me 28 cents in interest, and the other had 79 cents in interest for a 6-month period. Now, I'm more than willing to fund the library on the basis of the interest that I get out of the local banks. Now, as far as the recession goes, ain't nobody who's been hit by the recession more than somebody like me who's been retired for some 23 years. We understand the pitch. We understand the need to update our houses and most of us do live in single-family dwellings. We don't live in apartments where we have landlords we can come back on and scream at. We have to fund these things on the basis of what we can afford. And it's become very, very difficult. So all I can see is the fact that there must be a better way to do this. In order to do this, I would be willing to meet with the library board and look for that. But in order to do that, there should be a no vote on the part of the citizens of Monroeville. And that way we can maybe expand this to the people who use it in other boroughs, in other areas that are not covered by by this referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Harv. John Yakum.
Good evening. My name is John Yakum. I live in Monroeville. Mr. Mayor, members of council, Manager Little and Solicitor Dice, good evening to all of you. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to address you in council this evening. As usual, I have a prepared statement, but I want to deviate for a moment. Sunday's Mother's Day, and I want to take the opportunity to wish all the moms a happy Mother's Day. My wife, my mom, my sister-in-law, Councilwoman Gatiss, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And to all your moms, happy Mother's Day. Second thing is, I want to apologize for the growth. It started out as a joke for a playoff beard, and I'll be damned if I'm going to shave it now. Thirdly, I want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Gateway Lacrosse program. Most people don't know that Gateway started a lacrosse program 4 years ago. Started as a club program and is now a WPIAL program. This is our second year in WPIAL. And the team qualified for the playoffs last night, the first time in their history. So kind of a big deal for the boys in the lacrosse program, so I wanted to mention that. Mr. Mayor, once again, I have several questions. I hope you will at least answer some of them. Mr. Mayor, in your HHS report last month, you seemed to ridicule a resident who filed over 100 right-to-know requests during some time period. You said that the requests have cost the taxpayers over $100,000. It is my understanding that the open records official is a salaried employee, and our solicitor is paid a flat monthly fee. Could you explain to me how these requests have cost the taxpayers over $100,000?
Continue.
It is my understanding that many of those right-to-know requests are denied by Mr. Sedlak, the municipality's open records official, then overturned by the Open Records Office. Therefore, Mr. Mayor, it would be reasonable to assume that if Mr. Sedlak did not deny the request in the first place, there would be no need for the appeals. Furthermore, even after appeals, it is Monroeville, not the resident, who has decided to appeal some of these decisions to the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. So really, Mr. Mayor, it seems to me that Mr. Sedlak's denial of legitimate documents plays a large role in the alleged costs of these right-to-knows. Mr. Mayor, it is not this resident, but Monroeville, who recently appealed a right-to-know request to the Court of Common Pleas. This appeal revolved around the number of employees who are treated by one of our council members. It appears that one of our council members generates a significant amount of personal income and fortune from Monroeville's health insurance carrier. Mr. Mayor, last month I asked you if you were going to release the daily report. During last year's election campaign, you repeatedly indicated that you were going to release this report because it contained no national secrets. So I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Mayor, are you going to release the daily report to the public? And if not, why not?
Continue.
Last month, you also referred to the daily investigation as being completed very inappropriately. Mr. Mayor, could you expound on that statement?
Continue.
Regarding the daily report and the new CSI investigation, according to media reports in the daily report, it is alleged in the paper that curious firefighters were able to access police call information, sometimes after hearing calls on a police radio, and firefighters on one occasion reportedly reviewed 911 information about a rape case. My question is this, Mr. Mayor, and I hope you will answer it. What is the scope of the CSI investigation?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, the public is paying for this investigation. Would you please answer the simple question as to what is the scope of this investigation?
Continue.
As you are very aware, Mr. Mayor, public officials oftentimes have information about their public life questioned and even exposed in a newspaper. It certainly can be embarrassing for public officials to have his personal business discussed in public. Even zoning hearing board nominees can have their personal business discussed by residents and politicians. But public officials need to understand that the public oftentimes has a need to know about the business dealings of people who control the public purse. That is why the public is often very curious about gifts that are received by elected officials. Last month, I became aware of an elected official, Councilwoman Gatiss, who has a police-style gold badge. I did several right-to-know requests and even appealed to the state to determine if Monroeville had paid for this badge. My first question regarding this badge, Mr. Mayor, is do you know if all 4 of the new members of council have one of these gold badges?
Continue.
As a follow-up, there was a rumor that one of the senior council members also has a police-style badge. Mr. Mayor, can you tell me if all 3 senior members of council or yourself has a police-style badge?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, could you please tell me if there's any legitimate purpose for a council member to have a badge that looks identical to a police officer's badge?
Continue.
When my right-to-know request failed to yield the information I needed, I sent an email to Councilwoman Gatiss asking her how she received her police-style gold badge. She told me it was a gift. When I asked her who gave the gift, she stated that it was personal information. Mr. Mayor, gifts given to public and elected officials certainly should be scrutinized. So I am asking you, Mr. Mayor, do you know who gave Councilwoman Gatiss her police-style gold badge?
Continue.
The public certainly has a reason to know if our elected officials or members of council are being bribed or inappropriately influenced. And since the badge addresses her as a Councilwoman Gatiss and not just resident Gatiss, the badge certainly appears to be a gift related to her elected official position. I have another question regarding possible gifts to council. It has come to my attention that at least 2 members of council may have attended the recent prize fight at the Monroeville Convention Center. I do not know if there were others. The fight came to the attention of the public because it was discussed at last month's council meeting. It is my understanding that these seats were either front row or ringside. Mr. Mayor, were you or members of council given seats to last month's prize fight as gifts?
Continue.
Could you tell me if members of council received preferential seat assignments because of their political position?
Continue.
Last month, you handed out a document that outlined the cost of the HIP investigation. You included costs for overtime, back pay, cost of legal counsel, and cost of the investigator. You also included a line, former unqualified manager's raise in retirement, parentheses, TBD. Could you please explain that line to me?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, you placed the phrase in a document distributed at a public meeting. I would really appreciate further explanation.
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, do you think the safety of our junior high students will be adversely affected by the proposed removal of the school resource officer?
Continue.
What other changes will be occurring related to the diminished police manpower?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, do you think it is wise to sacrifice police protection after a 65% tax increase without shrinking other non-essential services?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, last year you vetoed a pay ordinance for the new manager. You vetoed it by stating, and I quote, "I am supporting the will of the residents of Monroeville by not supporting severance packages clauses in employee contracts." Did you sign the ordinance hire Mr. Little as manager, or did you veto it since it did contain a severance clause?
Continue.
Could it be that you're vetoing last year's ordinance, yet signing this year's has more to do with personal animosity and politics than it does with principal.
Continue.
Last month, Mr. Mayor, you did answer one of my questions. When I asked if you knew about any meetings regarding the hiring of CSI Pittsburgh, you indicated that you did not because you were in the hospital. But according to Mr. Silver's report in the Post-Gazette, the decision to hire CSI Pittsburgh occurred in February. Mr. Mayor, were you being honest when you suggested that you did not know about closed-door meetings to hire CSI Pittsburgh?
Continue.
Mr. Mayor, once again, you didn't answer any of my questions, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Lisa Fennessy.
Hi, I'm Lisa Fennessy. I'm a resident of Monroeville, and I also am currently the president of the Monroeville Public Library Board. I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to come tonight, and I'd like to address some questions and some confusion that are on folks' parts. And I'm happy if additional things come up to answer them, later on in the meeting. So one of the things that I wanted to read a little something from, I believe this was last year's municipal budgeting process, which it talks about the library, and it says, "The library is a supportive service and is a regional asset that the majority of funding is derived from local sources. The library could be closed and offered to the Allegheny County system. This would result in a savings of $1,020,100. It goes on to say municipal council did not choose to implement this option, but I did want to point out that, it's very officially in there, and it can come up any time, and at any time, that could certainly be brought up as a possibility. We also want to acknowledge that we have been well-funded by the municipality, and we appreciate that. One of the things is our local funding plays into some of the formulas for distributing the RAD money and state money as well. And so losing municipal money like we have over the past couple of budget periods has put that a little bit in jeopardy. That puts us out of compliance with the formula that they have in place for distributing the money. So we have to go sometimes and ask for variances because we fall below because we've lost local support. So a lot of these things don't sound like a big deal, but if it happens in the future, it could start a downward spiral. So I just wanted to point that out. A couple of other things that folks have asked about, talked about other people using the library. People from Pitcairn, Murraysville, Plum were brought up specifically. Pitcairn, we do receive a benefit because we provide services to Pitcairn, I think because they're a distressed community, so the library does benefit with funding because of that. So that's part of the money that we get. As far as charging memberships go, we're not allowed. Again, that would put our state and county money at jeopardy. There are certain standards that you have to maintain in order to be part of the state library system and the greater county system. We are part of the Allegheny County Library Association, so we're already hooked through all the other libraries, and part of that, in order to get the RAD money, we have to be part of that system. And in part of that system, you have to have a universal library card, which allows other folks who have library cards at other libraries to use ours. It also allows us to be able to use their library should we be in their community. In addition to that, we do have a lot of businesses in Monroeville, and businesses have employees. And I know some of those folks who don't live in Monroeville but work in Monroeville, and so they get the benefit, they use our library. We also get the benefit of all the other libraries being part of the ACLA system because now we have that universal catalog. So sometimes you'll get a book out of Monroeville Library, and if you've put it on hold, it often comes from another one. So that enabled us to sort of increase our books to circulate. So we do get other benefits, and again, that's part of state and county. Also, I just want to say something. When I became a member of the library board, this was something that was very new to me, so I like to help educate people. I think a lot of people have no idea how the library is funded. And I certainly learned a lot. A lot of people say, oh, let's just give it over to the Carnegie. It doesn't work like that. The Carnegie isn't sitting around waiting for libraries. And one thing that happened is Andrew Carnegie, even the Carnegie libraries that we have, he built libraries. He did not endow them. So there is no money to run them. They're in the same boat, so to speak, as we are, which is why they, in the city of Pittsburgh, went for the referendum. So Monroeville sort of follows that same story, except for we're even better. The residents built the library, and we're hoping the residents vote to keep it going forward. A couple of other things. People have said that we've not explained what we would do with the money or how that would work. And one of the things that I want to talk about with the library tax, and we keep talking about an additional tax, it will remove $500,000 directly from the budget line that the municipality gives us. So subtract that $500,000 already, we're giving that back to the municipality because the municipality will not have to fund us. In addition to that, there's a lot of services that the municipality provides for us that don't show up in that budget, that pretty much fall into other people's budgets. And we could become a revenue stream and give more of that money back to the municipality, freeing up even more money for the municipality. And I'll give you some examples of things like that. The insurance on our building, I know, is covered by the municipality. That's something we could reimburse you for. Grass cutting and snow removal is done by municipality employees. We could certainly reimburse for those services. Same thing with general maintenance, and I want to give kudos to our maintenance staff because our maintenance isn't always easy. In our 50-year-old building, we have equipment that they no longer make parts for. So they have to get very creative sometimes in fixing things that really should be replaced. So, and in addition, other things that, this I have figures for. A new elevator would cost $200,000. Some people say that's the luxury, but really it's, it's a law, and, people are looking at it as a right. To upgrade our parking lot lighting to make it safe would be $60,000. Our vestibule, again, which has flooding issues, $94,000. New wiring, $60,000. We know that our electrical service is at the end of life, so we're really only investigating how much it would cost to replace that in the building. We had a boiler that has been giving us issues. I don't have the cost written down on that, so I don't want to give wrong information, but is multiple thousands of dollars just to fix the boiler, not to replace it. So those are things that, in addition to that operating expense that you see in the budget line, those are, number one, additional revenue sources that we could provide to the municipality, further reducing the amount, and really, it isn't an extra tax, it is in place of. So it's in place of that the $500,000 that's already being funded, and it's in place of capital improvements. In the recent past, the municipality helped us put new windows in the building, which has substantially helped with a lot of the bills and things like that, because we had 50-year-old single-pane windows, and so a lot of our heat was on the outside as well as on the inside. So those are just a lot of things that I just wanted to bring up, and I tried to take notes to make sure. And then one thing, again, I want to make it clear, I know Tara talked about it, but we are not a taxing body. We are simply bringing a question to the citizens. The citizens, we are urging to vote yes to this. Once that is in place, we as the library board, we cannot do anything with that. It would have to come up to another vote. So, and certainly if we would find at some point we don't need that money, we would come and ask you for, to decrease that millage. But what we did is we asked for things that could take the place of everything that's done for the library. And also, we have done things, Tara did mention, over the last couple budget periods, we did cut open positions. So not filling those positions continues to stretch the library staff, and it makes it difficult. There aren't extra people to fill in if somebody is sick or anything like that. So I wanted to bring those few points up. And I have great respect for the senior citizens who built Monroeville, but I am also hoping to see it continue and be as vibrant as it has been and continue so. And with that, I'm just going to say a couple of things, which is there are many people from my generation. I grew up in Monroeville, born and raised, not born here, raised here. And I can count, probably on a hand or two, how many of my peers still live in Monroeville. And unfortunately, my children's generation, it's getting even worse. So, what can we do? And now I know people who live in Cranberry, a particular gentleman, and he said to me, yeah, I'm trying to get my parents to sell their house in Monroeville and move out here with us. Now, what I want to do is I want to try to get him to sell his house in Cranberry and move back out here to Monroeville, where he was raised and, where his parents still live. So we want to look at Monroeville sort of in its entirety. We think, again, we're a very important hub of the community. And, young people and people with children look to the library as an asset when moving into a community. Young people do use the library as much as the older folks do, sometimes more. And with a lot of the online services, it hasn't replaced the need for the library. It has actually expanded what people are expecting the library to provide. And online books are not cheaper than paper books, which seems like it should be, but so, that continues. So those are just some different things that I wanted to get the facts out so that everybody, knows what they're talking about. And again, we're looking for people to vote yes, because the reason we undertook this was to keep a funding source for the library, but also we saw it as a way to help out the municipality as well, because it was able to give back that subsidy and that money. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Heiss. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Robert Heiss, and I am a resident of Monroeville, lifelong resident. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Little, ladies and gentlemen of council, it is a pleasure and a privilege to be able to stand here before you tonight. I find Mrs. Fennessy's comments about how angelic and how good and how great they are interesting, because what I'm hearing and understand, I get a lot of phone calls, and you all know why. And a lot of the people that are calling me are people that their phone bank is calling them, and people from the library are calling them. I find it very interesting that they don't want to talk to the husbands, they want to talk to the wives and girlfriends. In fact, I was told by several that they were pretty rude with these phone calls and would call back again and again. Now, this is what I was told. But let's talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. With all due respects to the gentleman on Macbeth that lives in the apartments on Macbeth Drive, God love you, we're happy to have those of you that live in this community and rent here. But the bottom line and the period end is, to those of you good people that live in the apartments, this is going to have little effect on you. Where it's going to have, unless your property owners, your building owners, kick your rent up. With all due respect, sir, I'm sure that if you owned a home here, you'd be up here singing a different song. I can guarantee it. There are some things that have been done that really upset me. And one of the things that upset me is, and I cannot pronounce, forgive me, I cannot pronounce Debbie's last name. It's Izzauk. So what had happened was, and I got permission to use Steve Johnette's name. She called Steve or sent an email to him requesting that they put a banner up on the Johnette property. Steve's comeback was, well, why would I want to support somebody that's going to raise my taxes on my buildings, just the Johnette building, the shopping center, not even including the executive house? Why would I support another tax increase? Well, this young lady sent Steve Johnette the following message. Hello, Steve. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to call me back and hear some of the facts about the library tax referendum. I wanted to follow up with you and make sure that you understand that this is a 1 mil tax and it's for residential tax only. It would not be assessed on business property owners. I believe that This is yet another miscommunication and misunderstanding in our community. I will hope that you will take the time to evaluate the benefit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Steve took the time to evaluate it, and he and other business owners absolutely refused to let them put a sign up because how well we know, I have the referendum. By the way, the Johnnets and I go back over 40 years. I used to work for them. Shall 1 mil special tax be imposed by the municipality of Monroeville on all taxable real estate in the municipality? And then they send this out? This is a bunch of baloney. Do you honestly think for 1 minute the residents in Monroeville are going to believe anything they have to say about not being able to raise the tax, about this, that, and the other thing, when you talk about misunderstandings and miscommunications, it's coming from them? Then let's talk about the businesses. Regrettably, citizens have very little sympathy for businesses. They figure, well, what the hell? They have a business, they can afford to pay whatever. Why don't you do this? Why don't you people and your consultant back there, why don't you go to the Esta Esta and talk to the owner of the Esta Esta? I'm not mentioning his name because I didn't talk to him about getting permission to use his name. Why don't you talk to that gentleman who is clinging by his fingernails to stay in business? Clinging. Let's talk, and he lives in that building. Let's talk about the owners of the Rose Cliff Tavern. They both live here. They both own homes here, and now they own that building. How many lunches are they going to have to put out to cover the taxes that they're going to have to pay, right? Let's talk about the gentleman that owns the Steel Valley Steakhouse at the bottom of 48. That's a gentleman that lives in Monroeville, owns a home here, and in fact owns that building. So how many more steak dinners is he going to have to sell? In short, this tax is a job killer. It's a business killer. And you want to know something? They don't care. What really aggravates me to no end about it, and why I spearheaded this, is very simply, I never had any problems with the Monroeville Public Library, but I know its history because I've lived here all my life. Things they want to do with that building, they need to realize they don't own that building. Monroeville owns that building, but they want to secede. They want to do their own thing. I have my little moles up there, but I can't make too many quotes because I have to be careful. But my understanding is they want to put a whole new facade on that building. They want that building to look like Mount Lebanon's building. Well, that's fine, well, and good, but we can't afford it. And if you like Mount Lebanon's library all that well, then by all means move to Mount Lebanon. God love them, they can afford it. You know, I have a problem with this, and clearly, and a lot of people that I have talked to have a major problem with this, is nobody knew about it. I came up here on January the 6th at Citizens Night just to watch the new council people get sworn in, and then I was done. I was going under the radar again. I live alone. I keep to myself. I don't bother anybody. But as soon as Mrs. Fennessy came up here, and she's all full of effervescence, and, oh, you know, we need an elevator, and we need this, that, and the other thing. Well, I want to tell you, Mrs. Fennessy, what I need, and as much as I hate the thought of this, because I hate the concept of it, I'm thinking I'm going to file rights to know against that library because I want to know their budget, where their money's going. You know, they make that building sound like it's ready to collapse. Well, have I got a hot flash for them? It's a good, solid building. I watched it go up. Does the building need updated and upgraded? Absolutely. What building doesn't? What building doesn't? And as far as Mrs. Fennessy elated to the fact, well, you know, if this $900,000 comes off the municipal budget, that's a whole $500,000. Well, I'm talking that you guys can give back. Well, what I'm finding out from Mr. Fulkerson, our tax collector, who has the facts, it's $250,000. It's $900,000. What they'd be getting if this thing goes through would be $2.4 million. 5 mills. One, that's another mill on our taxable real estate. The other thing is, I want everybody here in TV land to realize what that $2.4 million is, let's say over a 5-year period of time, that's almost $12 million. What in the HELL are they going to do with that money? Well, that amount of money, that's an inordinate amount of money. So, long story short, I'll keep it short because I'm too long-winded, how well you know. But my sister-in-law up in Wilmington, Delaware, was the president of an educational association housed in one of the universities up there. And she would go on these book fairs every year, 2 or 3 of them. Let me tell you where these book fairs were. Belgium, one in China, wherever else. I can tell you exactly where some of that money is going to go to. They're going to, first of all, they're going to give everybody that works up there a big fat raise. Don't think for 1 minute they're not, okay? The other thing that they're going to do with that money, just my opinion, it's my opinion, it's not a statement of fact, but I'm entitled to my opinion, and I want people to think about it. So at $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 per person, they're going to send people to, maybe, I don't know, send people to conferences around the world. I don't know. And as far as not being able to raise that $1 million, I'm hearing far different story on that. The story I'm hearing is, yeah, they can. And I've really been doing my homework. There's a community in upstate New York. All they wanted was $0.25 tax increase 6 years ago. That's all they wanted. Well, you know what, that's 6 years ago, and they kept jumping it up. Those property owners are paying $4 million now. So, you know, and last but not least, where's the money coming from to pay the consultant? I'd like to know that. Where's the money coming from to pay for their full-page ad in the Times Express, of which is loaded with some half-truths? Where's that money coming from? I know where it's coming from. I would be very hard-pressed to believe that perhaps somebody donated that money to them. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And if somebody donated the money to them, God love them. It would be none of my business then. But if it's coming out of municipal funds, then I certainly have a problem with that, and so should everybody else. What aggravates me to no end, and why I have become proactive, is I never had a problem with that library. And I would have clearly been on the other side of this if those people in that library on January the 6th would have come up here like good, solid citizens, and instead of laughing and giggling and being so full of effervescence and we need an elevator and this, that, and the other thing, if in fact they would have just reached out to the community and said, hey, we need help. But they didn't do that. What they're doing is they're forcing their will on people that do not use that library, and they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to do that. So, in any event, times are tough. People are hanging on by their fingernails. I mean, I certainly am. Mr. Consultant back there never decided to have those people go to the 3 major real estate companies within this community to ask them, gee, if we do this and go up to 5 mils, if we go over 4 mils, what kind of a negative impact? They never did that. They just went ahead and did it. They got some advice. I have an idea where they got it from, but I don't dare say because I really don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of this community, and for the sake of you that want to sell your homes, and for the sake of those who so choose to want to try and buy within this community, vote no, vote no, vote no. Thank you.
Correct some of the misinformation.
We'll have that opportunity. Again, I will keep the floor open for anybody that would like to address council. I'm not going to do that, but they have a right to come up and talk.
That wasn't the order that we signed in on. How do we choose who gets to speak before the next person?
It was the order.
My name is Robert Serafini. I am a resident of Monroeville. I'm here to speak on two things. One, the library, as always. First of all, the library, from what I understand, the budget is $1.5 million a year.
Roughly.
They want 1 mil, which is 2.4. Now, we're talking about $900,000. Tonight, Ms. Fennessy mentioned the fact that they were $450,000 they needed to re-up the library, plus the furnace. Now, that's half, a little over half of what they want every year, $800,000 to $900,000. They want that every year. What the heck are they going to do with that every year? If you're going to spend $500,000 and get it all done, what the other couple $100,000 plus $800,000 a year every year, what are they going to do with it? There is no way you can possibly vote yes to that. Now, I'm a neighbor of Tara's, and Ms. Fennessy both made some points here tonight. And like I said, they want yes. I want no, and a majority of people want no. And I hope everybody goes to the polls on the 20th. It's very important to vote. That is very important. They're counting on you not going to the polls because that's what they want in this kind of an election. Something else I want to point out, I was told when a phone person called me that they were from Florida. Now, I also want to find, as he said back here, who's funding that money and who's doing it? And another thing, my neighbor next door, right next door to me, told me that they told her that the tax was only for 1 year. It's a lie. I mean, if they're employing these people and they're telling them what to say, I mean, something's all wrong with this, folks. They want the money, and it's not right. Vote no. That's all I can tell you. Now, the other thing I have here, Easter morning, I get a paper laying on my driveway. It says, Monroeville hired firm long before public knew. Mr. Yakin brought this up tonight. They hired CSI. Mr. Little, Mr. Dice, their names in their paper here. If anyone would like to refute this or talk to me about it, I'd be more than happy to. But for the first time I've ever heard Mr. Yakin say something I was very much interested in. I am interested in that.
If you recall, Robert, Mr. Little gave a great explanation on how that happened. And Tim, if you maybe want to repeat that as you did at the meeting.
Well, Bob, I cannot say anything more that is in that newspaper article. Okay, what occurred is exactly what's in that newspaper article. Suffices to say, the vote was ratified in April, and it's been approved, and that's it.
Okay, we're talking after the fact, though.
Well, you are correct, and as I said to council at the last meeting, should that have been on the March agenda meeting for the council meeting? I'll say, yeah, I said probably. I think I'm quoted as saying probably. Okay, and it wasn't. And I'll say that was a lack of communication between me and Mr. Dice, okay? But there isn't any violation of the Sunshine Law. Nothing has been trying to be done in any kind of deception, all right? It was passed, it was ratified, and I can give you an example. And I've given Mr. Silver the same example, and anybody else that has spoken to me about it. If this council was involved in contract negotiations with a union, and we decided to hire special counsel, and it was 2 days after a council meeting, and I go to council, I say, we're going to need some, and I say, fine, I have the authority to do that under the Home Rule Charter. And then the special counsel incurs hours, contract negotiations, and it's ratified at the next meeting. That's one example. So should it have been clearer and been done in March? Yes. It wasn't, but it was ratified at the next meeting.
Okay, you made a statement just now that if you had something come up and you got a council approval, then you could do it.
Well, now,
Now here,
Go ahead.
let me finish, please.
go ahead.
In this, it just said you didn't have council approval to do it. Now, I mean, here's, all these people here, they can deny it, say yes, no, what, I don't know what they're gonna do. But in the paper, it says they didn't even confirm that. Now, you're saying that you should have the, and I agree, you cannot do everything on a timetable unless you have the consent of these good people. And like I said, I trust these people, and I don't want to lose any trust in anybody up here. And this makes me mistrust that.
And as I said to, not to Mr. Silver, but another reporter, not anything illegal or non-transparent. What the biggest thing is here is exactly what you're saying, is maintaining the credibility with the public.
That's exactly
Perception-
right.
Perception's reality. And unfortunately, this gives questions to you, Mr. Yakum, about what occurred. All right? Mr. Dice, we received authority, we talked about this in 2 executive sessions, as is stated in that article. So it wasn't like as if council didn't know about it. We discussed this at length, all right, and it was moved ahead with, okay? And like I said, I cannot explain the situation, Bob, any more than I'm explaining it now, any more that is in that article.
See, I just don't want to lose faith with you
And
people.
I
because
agree, and
I
that's-
did with the last council.
I agree.
I mean, it was very bad. I mean, I'd come up here every meeting, and it would just be like pulling teeth to find out a good answer, good question, the way you guys were running things. And there's not one person, I've known her dad for years. I know the doctor. I mean, there's many people I know personally. And I want to keep that faith with this council.
What-
And like I said, to do backstabbing stuff, I don't approve.
Well, would you not agree that certainly a mistake was made?
A mistake was made. All I'm asking.
And I think everybody, I think Mr. Little, and I think
Well, that's
he's
all
trying to.
that's all I'm
I think
asking.
everybody's not, if you remember at the meeting, it was in April when we talked about that, Bob. We said, a matter of fact, I almost don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you said it was my responsibility to do that in March, but a mistake was made. And you know what, Bob, I know I would like to think that we're all going to be perfect up here, but we're not. We're human like everybody else.
Well, you know,
And that's why, but I'm just saying all straight up.
Yeah.
It should have been done in March, there's no question. But it was corrected. There was nothing illegal about it. We're not trying to backdoor anything. If you remember, every member up here, including myself, ran on that we're going to correct all the mishaps over the last few years. End of story.
yeah. I just like to keep the exchequer on business, that's
Well,
all.
I understand that.
He wasn't even looking.
I know.
Thank you very much.
I just don't want to be part of making news. This is so trivial.
I know it is,
Okay.
but like I said, I just want to say.
I can't believe.
I just
that-
want to keep
that
the faith is
people
what I want to
wanna
do.
talk about something that happened that was so insignificant. Yeah. This was, we're trying to do an investigation. Now, how do you do that in the public? How do you sit around and start looking at things and say, hey, you know what, everybody, we want to do this. This whole idea was a topic that spun around in executive session, and no clear identifying marks were made. I can't believe I'm still talking about this 3 months later. I'm really having difficulty with it.
Well, like I said, this Easter
Okay.
paper is what.
Well, you know,
ticked me off.
Silver will keep writing about it as long as somebody will read it.
Well, I'll keep reading it.
Okay?
Don't read it anymore.
You know what? And that's why he gets the big buck.
Save his
You know,
shoes
to
there.
me, I'm not going to deal with the guy. I'm not going to deal and talk with him and keep trying to churn a story that's not there.
Well, like I said, all I want to do is keep the faith with all you people.
Okay, Bob, you
And-
can keep the faith. You were-
Yeah, amen. I mean, would you not, I'm saying as the mayor, and I'm speaking for myself, we made a mistake.
The fact
cart
that
was
you
put
say a
in front-
mistake was made is good enough for me.
Cart was put in front of the horse, and there was nothing done sneaky.
Okay, that's all I
Believe
want.
me when I tell you.
And that's legit, Bob.
That's
and-
as true as I'm sitting here.
Last word, vote no.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will keep the floor open. Beth, I don't believe you signed in, so you can sign in.
I did not. My name is Beth Fishman. I'm a resident of Monroeville. This is Citizens Night, correct?
Yes.
First, let me say, I'm appalled, Mr. Dice, that you would think that matter is so trivial, and that's my personal opinion. Mr. Mayor, why do you have back and forth with Bob and you totally ignore Mr. Yacom? Is he not entitled to answers to any of his questions? I agree there's some that he doesn't deserve answers to, but the majority he does. So I guess I'll just go through my questions and expect the same treatment. Who is CSI and AVI Investigations? Who referred them? You were all too willing to disclose allegations that Lieutenant Pasquarella had a relationship with the Daily Investigations, so why not disclose the truth here? And if there's nothing, why not say so? Why is counsel spending $10,000 based on the words of people who basically admitted they lied to the first investigator? What makes you think $10,000 that's going to get you the truth? Did you ever think people will say whatever they need to those in power so they remain in good graces, so they keep their jobs? To Monroeville Government Watch and Monroeville Government Watch. Despite your differences, you have a goal in common. What's best for Monroeville? Demand to learn the truth as to whether or not this council met in violation of the Sunshine Act prior to passing the ordinance to hire CSI. And it's not just this investigation. If you did it once, you can do it again, and who knows what it will be the next time. Remember, 2 council members were quoted, and as was confirmed just now, that there was an executive session where this was discussed. But in Mr. Dice's book, those statements fall under a reporter creating a story. The municipality pays its solicitor over $17,000 a month. Either he's giving them bad advice or they're refusing to listen. Demand to find out what it is and fix it. If they're refusing to listen, my guess is you can hire someone a lot less expensive for them not to listen to. Demand to know if it's true, as Mr. Little was quoted as saying on April 3rd, before the ordinance passed, that a broad and comprehensive investigation had been undertaken. And while you're waiting for the answer, keep in mind that the right to know request already proved CSI billed the municipality $4,334 for work done in February. And then ask why the solicitor, whose signature appears on that document, sat here last month and lied directly to our faces. Mr. Mayor, you've publicly criticized a resident for submitting so many right-to-know requests. Maybe that wouldn't have been necessary if you and this council provided the transparency that was promised in your campaigns. Mr. Clary, when you were appointed to the Zoning Hearing Board, you said one of the first questions you asked is why are the Zoning Hearing Board members paid? Shouldn't the second question have been directly to those members, asking if they were willing to do that job before you reorganize the entire board for no pay? There's nothing you can say that will make me believe that the motivation behind this act was petty political vindictiveness against Mr. Yacom. Was it so important to you to teach him a lesson that you ignored the downside to the municipality by doing what you did? Did you seek advice from the solicitor before you reorganized the board? Did Mr. Dice tell you, as Michael Fives, the zoning hearing attorney for Franklin Park, has been quoted as saying, a smaller zoning hearing board could put the municipality at risk for losing potential business construction projects, that a 1-to-1 vote could force an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. If that happens just once, any money you saved will be lost to additional legal fees, lost opportunities, or both. But that's okay because you showed Mr. Yacom. This council needs to move forward. During budget talks, you all sat here and said you wanted to work with business, you wanted to bring in new business. Nothing's been done yet. I don't have children in the school district. There's nothing in here in Monroeville to keep people like me, double income, no kids, here, especially after 2 years of increased property taxes. I'm taking Mr. Wilson's advice and I'm getting out. I just think you need to do something before everybody follows. Thank you.
Once again, I'll leave the floor open for anybody who'd like to address council.
My name's Lori Pacusa, resident of Monroeville. Kind of going off of what Beth said, zoning is not the only board that has a stipend, correct?
That is the only one.
I thought there were 2. Okay, because I was up here once before and you told me that there were 2. Whenever.
No, I don't believe I ever did that. I only know of one, and it's the only one.
Okay, water is water. Do they get a stipend for the water authority?
Oh, I don't know that. That's not us. That's a separate entity.
Separate entity.
Okay, and you don't pay any money to the water authority? They do everything on their own?
Yeah, no, that's totally separate.
I agree with Beth. I don't understand and whether or not I agree with Mr. Yakem at anything that he does. Why wouldn't you ask other people to take it without pay rather than do this dig? And I apologize, Mr. Dice, if you think that that was trivial,
Which thing?
the bringing anything back up. But these are questions that we all
I don't
have.
have a problem with that.
Well, then why do you say that? You guys sit up here and Mr. Little, you're talking and not paying attention when residents are speaking. Mr. Dice, you're belittling the people here. These are questions that we have. We have a right to know.
Absolutely.
Whether or not you want to do an investigation, I'll be honest, that's your choice. I may not agree with it. Said for the first one, I didn't want it done. Tell you on this one, I don't want it done either. I don't understand why we can't, again, you have an ethics board, let the ethics board evaluate it. Is that even full at this point?
I believe it is.
Then why not use them? What do they do? I don't care if they don't get paid, but what do? Utilize them. They're people of Monroeville that want to help. And I just think that it was a slap in the face to him and to whoever else was the other person that was removed. And it was absolutely wrong. And I do expect more from all of you up there.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it open.
Jim Macaluso. I'm here as a resident and as a member of the Senior Citizen Club. Anything we want at the center, we get it ourselves. We go out, get people to give us stuff, or we have bingo, stuff like that. The borough does never owns the building, but they don't have to pay for anything in our center. We just finished doing a little remodeling over there. We paid for it out of our money. Because everybody's always talking about the senior center, and it's always bad. But we have a lot of people coming over there. As far as the library thing, I have nothing against the library, but I don't want to pay out no more money. I haven't gotten a raise in over 25 years. I get the same amount of money as when I retired, and I don't have any extra money to be given out for the library. So I'm begging all the seniors to get out and vote no. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Jim.
My name is Patrick Moynihan, resident of Monroeville. I also want to wish you a happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And two women here that have done extraordinary work for my nephew, Betsy and Lori. I want to say happy Mother's Day to them too. Thank you. All right, well, as far as them reducing the taxes, I don't believe anyone's done that since Andrew Jackson after the Civil War. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Actions always speak louder than words, just as perception is the key. And last month I accused the council of using the zoning board as a tool for revenge against John Yakem and Stephen Pasquarella. I predicted that the two members who would be removed would be John Yakem and Ray Pasquarella. I said it would be retribution against John Yakem for being outspoken in his criticism, and against Ray Pasquarella because his son is Stephen Pasquarella. That was at the last citizens meeting. And Mr. Clark took exception to that, denied it, and stated that that was unacceptable. But then 5 nights later, that's exactly what council did. And that is the appearance and that is the perception, that it is purely out of spite. And Mr. Yakem, I can understand why, and I understand why you guys don't particularly like him, but Ray Pasquarella is a good man who didn't deserve this, purely because of his son. I thought that was just wrong. in addition to, I don't think it's saving much money or helping us as a municipality. Also, there were other residents who suggested, all of them really suggested, instead of not paying, or dropping it down to 3, not paying any of them. And I really think you could have easily found 5 people to do that. If you have all these other boards with people on it, I don't think zoning would have been that big of a deal unless there's some sort of education you need with zoning. I'm not aware of. Mr. Mayor, you were clear about your remarks and the right to know requests and how much it costs the municipality. I don't dispute that it does cost money. However, as someone who does file right to know requests, I feel compelled to point out to you, I don't file these requests to give Mr. Sedlak more work or give Mr. Dice a chance to charge more fees. I do this because I'm left with no choice but to check for myself what you say is in fact true. I don't have any other alternative because I can't take your word for it. I'm sorry. I would also like to point out that while I make the choice to appeal your denials of my request to the state, or Mr. Sedlak's denials, it is the municipality's leaders who choose to appeal these to the Court of Common Pleas when the state rules in my favor. You said these are appealed because we don't get the answers we want. However, recent denial I had no answers at all, and I learned more from my appeal than I did the denial, and now we're going to court. You've stated on multiple occasions that this building doesn't house national secrets. If this is the case, I shouldn't have to appeal anything to the state. I understand reality doesn't quite work that way, and there are rules. A recent right-to-know request by the Post-Gazette was instrumental in its story that CSI was actually hired and began work in February, contrary to what Mr. Dice told us last month. Mr. Dice, as one of the most experienced solicitors in Western Pennsylvania, is rapidly losing the confidence of the people. And you are highly experienced, sir. I would put your experience up against any other solicitor in the state, let alone this side.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But, and I'm sorry to say, because I do respect, your career, it just seems to me that you feel like your job is to protect the council from the residents instead of making sure the council doesn't pass any resolution or ordinance that violates the state and federal constitution or its home rule charter. And I feel that the municipality, the residents are your client, not council. You work at the will of the people also. Another thing that you said last month, Mr. Mayor, was your statement that Mrs. McKinney was unqualified, and you took note of what her position at manager did for her pension. I think the people should notice about Mrs. McKinney, who was criticized highly all last year, but she took it. She didn't have the college degree that so many of you on this council think is important, or some residents, I understand, believe that also. But she did have something that Mr. Little doesn't. She had the benefit of working under 11 different managers during her career and taking part in 21 different budgets. She learned 11 different ways how to put together a budget. Mr. Little only knows one way, which is his. You can't learn this from any college course. She was basically a 21-year intern. And her budget last October called for no cuts in any service, keeping a full police department, most importantly, not one dime in tax increases. Mrs. McKinney may have tried to do things other than the way you liked and decided she worked at the will of the people instead of the will of council, but experience vastly outweighs a degree. I worked at Westinghouse and Cranberry with people who had doctorates in physics, yet didn't have a speck of common sense. Not one. I've also worked with people at a steel mill who never graduated high school, but could reverse engineer a 400-ton machine to make a repair the world's foremost engineers couldn't figure out. That's a true story. Education is not always about the school books, and education doesn't make anyone qualified for any job. The same goes for the chief of police. I'm less interested in his passing an introduction to social theory as I am his experience on the streets and coming up with a good way to help prevent crime. You got rid of McKinney and Pasquarella isn't on the job. You don't need to keep bashing them publicly. You keep pointing out that Pasquarella was administrator of the Alert TS software, Mr. Mayor, but you somehow never point out that he was assistant chief and had a boss. Thank you for your time.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will keep the floor open for anybody who would like to address council.
Yes, Mayor. My name is Jan Rawson, and I am a resident of Monroeville. I have been a resident for 45 years, and I hadn't planned on speaking tonight. I just came to hear what was going on. I guess I'm here and I wear two hats. I'm chairman of the Democratic Committee in Monroeville, and I also am a member of the Gateway School Board. What I want to say is, there's many things. I really don't know where to begin from what I've been hearing tonight. As far as the zoning board goes, many, many years ago, it was a 3-member board. It only became 5 members when the Home Rule Charter went into effect. I've been here for 45 years, so I've been through it all. I've been on the committee since 1969. So I don't feel that that was anything that was done vengeful. I feel that as far as the taxes go on the library, I say vote no. I don't understand how 14,000 people who are members and don't live in Monroeville, why do the Monroeville residents have to be penalized and pay this? There has to be another way to do this. If they would have come before council, asked for help, and tried to figure out a way, maybe something could have been solved. So my thing right now, we're negotiating contracts, school board, and we're scratching our heads to try to keep things down because we don't want to raise taxes. Now the library comes along with a millage rate that sort of puts a crimp on us at the school too. So I just feel the residents in Monroeville have been gone through enough, and we are an older community now, whether we like it or not. And we are on fixed incomes, and I and my husband are also. So I know what they're talking about. I just don't feel the seniors need any more of a raise. Difficult enough keeping their homes. And as far as everybody sitting up there on council, it's easy to criticize when you're on this side. I understand what all of you are going through, and it is easy to make a mistake. I don't feel that what was done vengeful, and I think these people should put themselves in your positions. They should feel glad that you're there supporting them. I, being on the school board, we go through the same thing. It's an unpaid job. We are not paid. We volunteer. We run for it, and I don't know why. But God knows we do the best we can, and I know all of you are doing the best you can. So it's really not fair for people to strike out at you when they're on this side. You've tried to do everything you can. I think they should try and work with you and not be so critical. So I think you're all doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm not partial.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the floor open. Hi, John, please sign in.
Yeah, good evening. My name is John Rowland, a resident of Monroeville for 42 years on a fixed income. And when I first heard about the $1 million increase that the library wanted to put on our real estate taxes, I was shocked and started wondering why they needed such a large increase. And I still haven't heard any explanation of that, despite what people have said to this council this evening. But what I did hear was something very interesting. They are going to become a funding source for Monroeville. They're going to give you money from the money that they collect. I just wonder, how does that work? How is this organization, who's accountable to nobody voted for them, they were not elected, I meant nobody elected them. Who are they accountable to? How are they going to take money and give it to you? It sounds to me like the library board should have been working with the council before this thing ever developed into the situation that it is today. I mean, we have probably the largest increase in Monroeville's taxes just dumped on our heads this year of 2014, on top of which they want to now, if you do the arithmetic correctly, it's another 25% on top of that. It's a 68% increase in 14 plus another 25% if the referendum goes through. I just don't understand what they're going to do with all this money. If indeed they're going to act as a funding source and not use all the 1 mil, why wasn't this written into the referendum? Why did they choose 1 mil? It's a huge number. It increases their budget from approximately 1.4 million to 2.4 million. And then I wonder what happens with the RAD funding and the state funding. Is that on top of that 2.4 million? It's a huge amount of money. And I don't like the way that it was done. I don't like the fact that it was placed on a referendum, on a ballot, on a primary ballot, where the turnout is expected to be low. But I guess that was probably how the Kerry group, their consultant, probably pushed them along on how to do it. Very underhanded, not fair to the people of Monroeville, and I'm just upset about it. Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the floor open. Seeing none, I'm going to close this Citizens Night proportion of the meeting. And before I turn over to and get into the work session, I do have a couple of comments I'm going to make in regards to the library tax. I'm here to just tell, before I even say anything else, I'm here to tell you I do support the library vehemently. My children used it. They no longer are children no more. They're grown adults, but we certainly do think it is an asset to the community. But there's some things I do want to make sure, and there was a lot of misinformation put out there, and I will do my very best to make sure, and some of you already stated some of that. Number one, the library is fully funded. When they talked about the electric, and Lisa did, if there's any life safety issues, it will be addressed immediately by this council, or I should say our administration would make sure it would be appropriately taken care of. Make no mistake, that is a 50-year-old building, and I'm sure there are things that do need repaired. But if there's anything that's a life safety issue, it will be addressed immediately. And if it's not, we, as this council, will ask this administration, why not? Second thing, they put out that there are 14,000 plus members. I would like to see how many of those are actually Monroeville residents. And I'm only repeating some of the things. Jim will back me up. I've talked at the senior center. You guys have given me a lot of these questions, and they've asked me to address this publicly, and I will do that. Plus many other residents as well. Bob and some of the other folks talk about the business community. I talked with many members of our business community. They're quite worried about the 1 mil increase. For those of you know, or maybe you don't know, we have a business privilege and mercantile tax. They pay a great proportion of our municipal budget, our business community. They're saying to me as mayor, and again, they've asked me to address it to you. I try to get some of the chamber members to come. Today was just not a good day for them. But they're just saying to me that their bottom line is going to be hurt, and some may have to leave if this passes. It's a very true story on Esta. I know Michael very well, and I'll say his name because he's my friend. He is hanging on by threads, and he's not alone. I've talked to others that I don't know as well as I do Mike. There is no way, I don't think anybody on this council, and certainly I as mayor, would ever let that library go away. That will never happen. I don't believe any future councils would do it either. Have they been asked to reduce some of their cost, just like the police department, public works, administration. It is what it is. The revenue has not been, our income, if you will, has not been, it is, has been in the past. Believe it or not, things are getting a little bit better in Monroeville. We do have businesses moving in. We have some applications that are coming in. I don't want this tax, and I'm not going to tell you how to vote. This is something you as residents have to decide yourself. But the business community is saying to me, you're going to probably, most likely, chase away some of the new business. We just had a largest tax increase. I don't believe anybody up here was happy about it. I know many seniors are not happy about it. I'm not happy about it either. Who the hell wants to pay more taxes? I know I don't. But you all made it perfectly clear you like all your services, from your dispatch center to your fire, your police, your EMS, your public works. We really do have the best garbage pickup probably in the area. If you miss your garbage, you just call them. They'll come back and get it. They don't even have to be your day. We have good services, and you made that perfectly clear. Well, guess what? I'd love to say we can give it to you for free, but it doesn't happen that way. And I made a promise. I don't know if I said it here or in the paper, but I'm going to work with this council to see if there's any way we can reduce that 1.579 mils going into 15. I do not know if we can do that, but I think it's a goal that we need to work with. And I'll ask my colleagues on council to work with me on that, with the administration. One of the other things it says on here, I'm reading in the paper, it said because if they give that money back, it's only a 0.6 mil increase. It's still an increase. Everything that was brought up, and again, I have to do what my seniors asked me to do. The things that they need doesn't even get close. Everything that Lisa mentioned didn't even get close to $900,000 or $1 million. What happens to that extra money that would be in 15? And every year after that. One of the other rumors out there is that they want to take all that's on the first floor, move it up to the second floor, the first floor, move it up to the second floor, and make the first floor a community center. That's a library last time I checked. Certainly, there's room for people to meet. But you know what? If you get on our schedule, if you have a club or whatever, I am sure you could work that out if there's this facility's open. This is your facility. And then I'm hearing, Bob brought up in regards they want to redo the whole building. That's a 50-year-old building. I've heard they want to make it green, if you will. Who doesn't want a green building? I work in construction. I work for a developer. Okay? To try to make a 50-year-old building green, you're throwing very good money away. That literally, it would be cheaper for you to take the entire building down and start over. To put money, all kind of money into a 50-year-old building to try to make it green is crazy. But that's what I'm hearing they want to do. So you as taxpayers need to decide which way you want to go on this. I am not going to tell you what to do, but I can tell you this library is fully funded. And if they have any issue that is truly a life safety issue of electric, be it the gas or the air conditioner, anything that roof, it will be addressed. And it will be addressed very quickly. You decide on May 20th. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, oh, you need a 5-minute break? Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Obviously, Sharon needs her fingers to rest. Oh, yeah.
They're just ignoring you.
Okay, Mayor, what's for the resident?
Thanks, Joe.
Council meeting's back in session, and we are now going to open up our work session. And before we get into that, I do want to read an announcement. Council conducted an executive session to interview the chief financial officer candidates before the agenda-setting meeting tonight, Thursday, May 8th, 2014, from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the May 13, 2014 council meeting. Also, council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation on Monday, April 21st, 2014, from 7 p.m. to 8:01 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the May 13th, 2014 council meeting. We're going to move over to, we have Gallagher Benefits, Inc. We're going to, Mike, if you'll come on up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, just to preface Gallagher Benefit Group, it's been a tradition in Monroeville about this time every year in May.
Thank you.
To briefly have Mike Gleason and Matt Geyer come here to brief council on the health care renewal, which is comes in June 1st of every year. And as I've informed council, we have a substantial increase to our PPO Highmark plan this year of 27%. Okay, our premium is going up. And I'll turn it over to Mike and Matt.
Thanks, Tim. The first thing we do when we get such a large increase is we try to figure out, can we get it down? That's number one. So our job is to go out and shop around in the marketplace to make sure that Monroeville is getting the best deal that's available in the marketplace on medical benefits. The results of that, we had one quote, fully insured. We had another quote on self-insured. We had a couple people decline to quote because they thought that even with the giant increase that they couldn't get close to the rate. So I'm going to let Matt talk a little bit about that process and the result.
Well, obviously, there's select carriers within the area that we have the option of going to. In this case, it was there were 5 carriers that we went to. 2 submitted a fully insured proposal that was both were 10 to 13% higher than the 26% renewal from Highmark. Aetna and Health America, as you may be aware of, or Aetna has acquired Health America, so they're working kind of jointly at this point, and they selectively choose which one of them is going to submit a quote. In this case, it was Health America. They declined to submit a fully insured quote. They did give us a self-insured quote, which was not competitive, and then Cigna declined to quote altogether. So that left us really with the options from Highmark, which we can go into from here on.
Please do.
So what we're recommending, and we've discussed with Mr. Little and Sedlak, is offering the Community Blue program as an option for members. Community Blue has been reintroduced actually from Highmark in recent years. It was previously available and then dissolved and is resurfaced in light of the issues with UPMC. Community Blue essentially limits the network to eliminate UPMC facilities, and therefore Highmark has a little more control over the facilities and providers that are utilized, and it greatly reduces the rate, therefore.
What was our annual cost for the last couple of years? Can you have that number?
The expiring premium for the 2013 to 2014 plan year was roughly 2.36 million. From 2012 to 2013, it was just under 2.2 million.
Yeah, we haven't seen an increase this large in a number of years. And what is driving the increase is the claims activity. And
In large part, there's a number of high-cost claimant, shock claims, we call them, that are really driving the claims. One of the things I mentioned is self-insuring, and I've discussed that with Mr. Little, and it's not really an option at the moment, because when you self-insure, you're essentially paying directly for the claims, plus some administrative costs, whereas on a fully insured basis, you're paying the premium up front, regardless of what the claims are thereafter. It's essentially, for lack of a better way of putting it, a poor risk to self-insure at this point.
You mentioned the huge increase is due to claims. Is that our claims? Is that what you're saying?
that's correct. And
Council, any questions for either gentleman? Obviously, I know I'm a little sticker shocked, but it sounds like you gentlemen are as well. But Council, any questions?
Yes, you have one of the columns, you have the $5,000 deductible. Currently, what's the deductible that the municipality pays?
The 5,000 reference there would be for an individual. Currently, it's 3,000. One of the things that we've done over the past few years is implement a higher deductible to the plan, which the municipality is paying for via a health reimbursement arrangement. It's also known as an HRA. So basically, the municipality is self-funding the first 3,000 in this case in claims currently. We looked at increasing that to 5,000, but what you end up with is basically a diminishing return. The premium starts to decrease less as the deductible gets higher. So you kind of get less of a break for continuing to increase the deductible after a certain amount.
And is that deductible the same whether it's an individual who signed up on the plan or versus a family?
In that case, it would be double the individual, so it would be a $10,000 deductible for a family. Right now, it's $3,000 and $6,000.
And the municipality does fund the deductible.
So the members aren't actually.
What's the name of the new plan again?
Pardon?
The new Highmark plan is Community Blue, and you might say, well, why don't we just shove everybody in there, or not, poor term, buy that plan, and really the issues why your hands are kind of tied is due to the contracts that are in place.
Well, that brought me to a point that, Mr. Little, it seemed to me that I recall some communication that you were talking to the unions and about that.
Yeah, what we have done, we had a meeting with the department heads and union reps last Friday, and it went well. And what Highmark, and from that meeting, just talk about the meeting a little bit, there was a lot of good information that came out of that meeting. First of all, you have a Community Blue plan, which is only increasing 10%. This plan, the PPO 316, is increasing, as we said, 26, 27%. If every employee stays with a PPO plan and UPMC and Highmark do not kiss and make up, so to speak, then you're going to have a de facto Community Blue plan that our employees will be utilizing, but will be paying the PPO premium. Now, according to Mr. Philip Ferland from Highmark, the utilization of the UPMC facilities is not, there's not a digression of that as much, because first of all, pediatricians are not included, pediatrics is not included in that. But the big thing is only 2% of our employees utilize UPMC doctors and facilities. So the disruption would be very, very minor. Although for those people, those employees that use UPMC docs, it wouldn't be it would be a disruption. But now what Highmark is doing, we're going to have an open enrollment meeting and a Q&A period. They're going to be here in the next couple of weeks, and Joe's taking care of that. Mr. Sedlak's taking care of that. An employee can come to that meeting, can change the Community Blue, which is only going up 10%, so their contributions, depending on their union contract, will commensurately go up less. Now, there will be another open enrollment period and meeting in middle of December because of the unique situation with UPMC and Highmark. So there'll be another one. So conceivably, an employee could switch to Community Blue and have a reduction in their contributions and also our premium, and then come back again, and if they didn't like it, go to a PPO. But the main thing to remember is the benefits are the same. This is just a network difference. And that's the biggest question from employees, and rightfully so. The benefits are all the same, it's just a matter of the network. And we had a group of the hospitals that, and I don't want to get into too much specifics, but council should be aware of these items. The following facilities are out of network for anyone that signs up for the Community Blue, which would be Presby Shadyside, UPMC, East Tier, Monroeville, McKeesport, Mercy, Passavant, St. Margaret, Montefiore, and McGee. But our utilization is such, as I said, is not that much with UPMC doctors.
Correct.
How does the service that this plan is offering compare to the service that our employees had in the 2013-2014 program?
What Mr. Little was just mentioning is all it would do is limit the network. All the benefits and things within the plan, what it covered, would remain identical.
No other difference.
However, they would pay a larger copay? No.
It would actually
No.
go down to go to the Community Blue. So what we were proposing is offering it as an option. So members could come to the open enrollment meeting, look at what facilities would be excluded from Community Blue, and determine if they were okay with that, if they could do without those providers, facilities.
And they'll pay a little
When you
less.
say
Pay a little
facilities, you're saying like Forbes system or?
UPMC?
Just UPMC facilities would be out.
Okay, but we know that's not an option today, right? UPMC.
They have that option now.
Oh, okay.
They lose that option.
Okay.
The real bottom.
So it isn't compatible to,
The network is different, correct?
yeah,
Can I mention one thing, guys? Sure.
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
sir.
my name is Dan Majernik with Highmark, and I just wanted to clarify one thing, that in an emergency situation, those folks that would select Community Blue, they would still be able to go to any hospital, and they would accept that member. You got it.
Basically, the big elephant in the room is the two entities have to sit down and make nice. Am I not correct, gentlemen?
Correct.
So I would recommend all the residents sitting here as well as in the listening audience, turn the heat up. I mean, I don't know how else to say that in plain English. And I see you can make this smaller, Mike. I appreciate you making these numbers.
Yeah, I
real little.
apologize
can
for
barely see
that. I was yelling at Matt earlier about that.
I'll take
agree.
the blame there.
Yeah, I can see just fine.
So I
No,
have
it's
another
not.
one here, just, that's just the Highmark,
Large
that
print.
also incorporates the HRA cost that Dr. Greshok was asking about.
I have a question, gentlemen. I believe Tim mentioned the open enrollment period being, well, the benefit period is what? Is it June 1st to July 31st? That's what the Monroeville's benefit period is?
June 1st to May 31st.
I'm sorry, yes, June 1st to May 31st. Now, as far as having a second open enrollment in December, whose call is that? Are we able to do that, or does Highmark say we can do that?
Highmark would allow.
They will allow that.
Due to those circumstances being unique going into this next year, it would be a special open enrollment that Highmark would allow this one time.
Okay. That's important for
appreciated.
everyone to realize that someone could, someone who maybe has doctors that are in UPMC currently, and they switch over to Community Blue, and thinking that, well, this deal's never going to happen, and come December 31st, UPMC and Highmark come to an agreement, then they've already switched all their doctors, and they would be stuck with, not stuck, but they'd be enrolled in a health plan that they wouldn't be able to change until the following year, because that's usually how these things go. So it's actually a nice benefit that Highmark's offering to allow that second enrollment.
I agree.
That's a unique.
And during that open enrollment time, we would have myself or other Highmark representatives here to double check any physicians as people come in. And they can also check online, and they can also make a phone call to Highmark just to make sure before they make the decision if they want to go with the PPO or the Community Blue, this June.
And then, Mr. Little, you mentioned about pediatrics. I don't know necessarily all pediatric offices. I believe it's more just Children's Hospital specifically.
Yeah, Children's Hospital, and what happens with pediatricians is if they have admitting privileges to Children's Hospital, then they're also considered in-network. The last time I came out and met with Tim and Joe, they had specifically asked about the children's urgent care here in Monroeville, and that absolutely would be in-network for anyone that selected Community Blue. So Children's Hospital is separate from...
Right, from the whole...
Yeah. Our contract, Highmark with Children's, goes through 2020.
So is this all encompassing and just pigeonholes Monroeville to just Highmark? Period? There's no other options for the employees?
The second one I handed out is just the Highmark options. The first one includes the other markets that we looked at. When we didn't find them competitive, that's why I produced the second one, which also includes the cost of the health reimbursement arrangement that I was describing that pays for the deductible. Because just the premium isn't your true cost. You're paying the premium plus the claims within those deductibles. So you'll see that in kind of halfway down the page there, the HRA claims. You don't know what those are going to be, but we've estimated over the years what it's going to be.
Paul, did that answer your questions? I thought that you were going another direction on that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
You guys and your insurance rates have the prisoner downstairs totally upset.
There he is.
There he is.
And
Co-pays are going up.
Conversely to Dr. Greshak's comment, if someone would select PPO and then the deal doesn't happen with Highmark and UPMC, they could make the choice come January to go to Community Blue, because if they have a PPO and it doesn't happen, they're paying for the PPO and they no longer have access to UPMC facilities. So we could switch everybody to Community Blue at that point. Understand, right?
We basically are offering the employees a choice for them to make, not for us to make for them.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right, because we didn't feel, based on the discussions, that they would agree to all go into Community Blue.
Okay.
So at this point,
So they do have some say, they can come and get some questions answered, make up their own minds. And then you also are offering the second enrollment in case they've decided, wait a second, I didn't really like what happened, and/or the heavens open up and everybody plays nice.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, council, for either gentleman? Well, thank you all for coming up. I think you certainly have resolved some questions on that, and
And happy Mother's Day also.
very good. We're going to move over to our Public Safety Training Center, and Chief, if you'll come on up. Oh, we're going to table that. I'm sorry. I apologize. All righty. How about let's go over and look at our minutes on council meeting of March 11th, 2014, council work session of April 3rd, 2014, and the council meeting of April 8th, 2014. Do we have any questions, corrections, or additions, council? Seeing none, we'll move over to our reports of our tax collections, and once again, I will open the floor up to you, members of council. Seeing none, let's look at our payroll report. Any corrections or additions? Move to our list of bills and budget transfers. Once again, I'll start off with you, Linda.
I have no questions this evening.
Dr. Griesbach.
No questions, Mayor.
Ron?
None.
Jimmy?
Nothing, sir.
No, sir.
No, thank you.
Very good. We'll move over to our consent agenda, or new business, and we'll, Tim, if you would.
Okay, we have the first item, which will be coming up on the, at the council meeting on Tuesday, is a public hearing for conditional use number 14-1-C of a Speedway convenience store and gas station. We also have a second public hearing, which is going to be for the Sheets, which is going to be going in where the Ethan Allen is at the corner of Elliott and Route 22. Public hearing for that conditional use. Number 3 is also a motion for this Tuesday to appoint Tina Mueller as Director of Technology. And number 4 is a motion to, for the Friend of Festival sponsor in the amount of $100 for the North American Martyrs Summer Festival, July 9th to 12th, 2014. Those are the motions under new business. Resolutions.
Hang on a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Any questions on either of these issues that, under new business, council? Okay, we'll move over to resolutions. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I needed interrupted. Number 1 is the tabled resolution from last month on the Monroeville Zoning Hearing Board. Number 2 is a resolution approving the final subdivision of the Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburger, which is on Route 22 as the Wendy's on the right-hand side going into Murraysville. They are going to be demolishing the whole building and building a new one as they're doing across the country. Number 3 is a resolution for the site plan application for the same plan for Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburger. And number 4 is the resolution for the conditional use hearing that I just mentioned for the Speedway Convenience, which is going on Broadway Boulevard, down the road from the Still City restaurant for the
Speedway.
Okay, and the number 5 is, that's for the number 5 is a resolution approving the site plan application for the Speedway. Number 6 is a resolution adopting the Speedway sewage planning module. And number 7 is a resolution for the conditional use for the Sheets that I just mentioned. Number 8 is a resolution approving the site plan application for the Sheets. And number 9 is a resolution adopting the Sheets sewage planning module. Number 10 is a resolution authorizing nighttime milling for the construction that's going on Golden Mile Highway, Route 286, during the evening. And number 11 is a resolution for the disposition of records as set forth in the Municipal Records Manual. Each year we do this as we dispose of records, mostly financial records, that we can under the Municipal Records Act. Number 12 is an affirming resolution expressing unwavering support for the CDBG, which is a Community Development Block Program. We get that money from the federal government, or I should say Allegheny County does. The program's significant and unparalleled impact upon the communities in this county, and further calling upon the United States Senate and House of Representatives to support full funding of the CDBG formula grants at $3.3 billion, as well as full funding of other critically important affordable housing and community economic development programs.
Council, I know that Tim read out loud quite a bit here, but I'm sure with most of the resolutions in regards to the all the subdivisions and et cetera, that'll be, you'll have a lot of questions when they do present their issues before council. Paul, I don't know if you wanted to say anything on any of them.
No, I mean, we have them here if you want to see them tonight, or else we can talk about them in detail on Tuesday.
It is your call, council. I mean, we don't need to do it twice. I think it's better just to do it on Tuesday, but that's certainly just my opinion.
Tuesday.
Okay, very good. No other further questions. We'll move over to ordinances and Mr. Dice.
Yes, the first ordinance is the ordinance amending ordinance 2614, establishing the compensation and personal benefits for the chief.
Questions or comments on that item before?
Next is an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2578, which placed the municipal manager with the municipal manager the collection of the 511 taxes and other taxes, fees, assessments, and charges levied by the municipality, and reestablishing the collector of those taxes with the elected tax collector of the municipality.
Questions or comments, Council?
And again, everybody has seen these. They've
Yes.
been published. Third is an ordinance approving an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation of the Monroeville Municipal Authority, increasing the term of the existence of the authority. The manager's here tonight from the municipal authority, the former manager, who's now a consultant, I believe. The purpose of this, so everybody understands, is that you're aware that both Plumboro Municipal Authority and the Monroeville Municipal Authority have been working diligently to attempt to get the best price for water that we can get. Recently, a year or so ago, during those negotiations, remember we were always buying water from Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority, and have been doing so for the past 23 years. We're in the process of renegotiating with Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority to enter into a longer-term agreement again when negotiations really kind of broke down to a certain degree. Both Plumboro Municipal Authority and Monroeville Municipal Authority, through the efforts of Mr. Caper and his staff, began negotiations then with Westmoreland County Municipal Authority to possibly acquire water distribution purchases for the next several years. As a result of the negotiations with Westmoreland, both Plum and Monroeville sought and received a new agreement with them, which begins in 2016, and I believe it's a 45-year understanding. That understanding will reduce water distribution costs to the two authorities substantially. I believe Monroeville was paying $1.23, $1.25 a thousand. You want to come up? And the rate will go down, I believe, to $1.10.
Yeah. My name's John Caper. I'm here representing the municipal authority. As Mr. Dice spoke, in 2012, we entered into agreement with the Municipal Authority of Westmoreland County that begins in 2016. We had a starting number that we received from our current supplier, Wilk Penn, and they averaged approximately a little bit over 2% of a rate increase per year. We also got a starting number from Westmoreland that was less, and they're only going to raise it a penny a year, actually a nickel every 5 years for 40 years.
So 40 years from now, we'll be paying 40 cents more per thousand. 40 years from now.
And I have a handout here I'd like to pass out to council that shows my calculations on some assumptions of a 2% increase and whether our consumption stays the same. And you'll see at the very end, it's a very large number.
One for her. John, can I get another one?
John, just give me the stack and I'll hand them all out for you.
And currently, the life of the authority expires in 2048. This agreement with an extension of the life of the authority will go through 2056.
Those are some big numbers here, John.
There are some substantial numbers. Over 40 years, my calculations, saving the authority approximately $39 million.
Now, you got to think, this is, I want, and I said it at the authorities meeting when we had it, this is historical. This will never happen probably ever again. The savings is just overwhelming. Let me try to put it in better perspective. Is it $1.10 we're going to buy from
Yes.
Westmoreland?
Yes.
Okay, the rate that was being quoted by Wilk Penn at their last negotiation, where it was kind of a take it or leave it, was $1.71 per thousand, starting in 2016. They were going to jump the rate up to $1.71. you understand now that we're getting it for $1.10 a thousand in 2016 from Westmoreland. In addition, right now, we're paying, I think, $1.23.
Paying right now $1.25.
25 to
That is
West,
correct.
to Wilk Penn.
And their final starting number was $1.43.
Right.
So, right.
I was going to say,
Yeah. So what we're saying here is that the historical event that's taking place is you're going to have a utility that will literally go up 1 cent a year for the next decade, 4 decades in some. And that is significant. I challenge you to see if any of your other utilities are going to go up by a penny a year for the next 45 years. Imagine what your cable bill is going to be. You know, imagine what your light bill is going to be.
I hope I'm here.
Well, we're all going to be here. That's not the issue.
45 years
We're
from
all
now?
going to be here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the way we have to look at this stuff.
For both Westmoreland rate and the Wilk Penn rate, is that actual or is that projected?
The,
Like contractual price?
the Westmoreland is actual contractual price.
Exactly.
I increased Wilk Penn's 2% a year. Over the last 15 years, they've averaged approximately 2.5% increase per year. So trying to be conservative, I just upped it 2% a year.
And
And the Westmoreland rate is actual?
That's,
It's actual.
it's,
Okay.
the other part of the
I can
West,
tell you right now what our rate's going to be in 2055.
the other significant fact was that in the negotiations with Wilk Penn, we were unable to get them to commit to an actual rate. They said, look, we're not going to do what we did before the past 25 years, which we had a formula. They would not agree to go to the formula to establish the rates that John's talking about, the 2%. So that meant that we were not going to control what was going to happen in the future for costs. John has been very conservative with that number. I would bet you that number would not have stayed the same, it would have been higher. Even at that conservative number, that's the savings. So, all of this being said, and the reason it's being said is, I want to point out to everybody that this is historical. And what we're seeking to do then is to increase the life of the authority to cover the period of time that we agreed that the authority would pay this rate. So we need your consent to do that. I would call it housekeeping, but it's also historical to the extent that it's going to give the authority the opportunity to meet its obligations under this agreement that we've struck.
John, why is Plum on there?
Because when we went out to negotiate a new rate, Plum and Monroeville went together.
Oh, they piggyback.
We went together saying, okay, Monroeville buys 3 million gallons a day, Plum buys 2. Now you're negotiating with somebody that buys 5.
It's a better deal.
Is this going to go all the way down to,
Well, you'll see.
well, I'm saying Minerva Water picks up everything except parts of Mellon Plan? Minerva Water picks up everything except parts of Mellon Plan?
Yes, that's correct. Our coverage area will not change.
Oh, okay.
What is serviced by Wilkinsburg Penn now, Mellon Plan, Bellwood area is still going to be serviced by Wilk Penn.
And there's nothing we can do about it?
No, sir.
Why is that? I don't know.
It's like a political boundary. Authority boundaries are like political boundaries. You know, at the Monroeville Pitcairn border is where Monroeville stops and Pitcairn begins. At the Monroeville Municipal Authority, Wilkinsburg Penn, there is a borderline. We stop, they begin.
John, how does the water authority generate revenue?
Water and sewer rates. That's
Okay, so with the drop in the cost of water, what will that do to your?
I think it's going to level out, you know, any increases that come up, because everything else is going to increase: electricity, fuel, vehicles, health insurance.
Your costs are going to go up.
Right, but it's going to level It's going to level the increases out. They're not going to be as
In water.
substantial as they would have been.
Don't confuse that with sewers. This is water.
No, sewers are a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Whole nother story.
Amen to that.
It's a different animal.
It's,
Well, I just wanted to say this, John, I appreciate what the efforts of you and your staff.
and so the council understands, the authority board has already approved this request.
They've passed a resolution.
They passed a resolution requesting this. It goes then to municipal council,
You pass an ordinance.
and then it goes on to the State
And
Department.
then what we do is advertise it, and then we send it on to the Department of, the Corporation Bureau of Pennsylvania, and hopefully they'll, it's kind of a rubber stamp kind of thing to add to the life of an authority.
Questions or comments? I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Good job, guys. Thank
Good
you.
job.
Okay, thank you very much for
And,
your time.
and,
Thank
and, and
you.
John, before you leave, I hope you're going to enjoy, you're counting your days down.
Yes, I am, sir. Yes, I am.
We will miss you very much so at the
Yes,
authority. Good luck in your retirement.
I've been very, very fortunate. I'm someone who really enjoys his job. But I've had a job for 50 years, and I'm going to try to see what it's like not having one for a while.
You won't last long. I didn't.
Okay, thank you very much, folks.
Congratulations.
Hey, Greg,
Okay.
if I can interrupt, and I apologize.
Sure.
Concerning the resolution number 10 on the council agenda on page 3,
Yes.
does council have any questions? I have two gentlemen, Tom Goldinger and Mark Mills from Plum Contracting here, that I invited to the meeting tonight to answer any concerns that council may have for.
If you remember,
rehabilitation.
Mark, they did send us information on that. Unless I thought it was pretty self-explanatory.
They were kind enough to sit through the meeting. I just don't want to
and-
bring them back Tuesday if you didn't have any questions.
I did.
Please don't bring us back Tuesday.
Oh, okay. You mean you didn't have fun with us?
Some timeline to that.
Maybe you can answer.
Maybe, Mark, do you know the timeline?
Do you know the timeline?
They should be done, come on up.
Yeah, we're looking at probably next year, we're gonna be done.
Okay.
When they get to start, what tires, all that kind of stuff.
Our hours.
State your name, sir.
Tom Goldinger with Plum Contracting. Our project laid out by PennDOT requires us to work night shift
Right.
during certain
So what's the
activities.
hours?
What's night shift?
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. We have a lot of restrictions on
Do you
286.
know when you're going to start and when you're going to stop?
We are actually doing milling operations and paving operations tonight.
So it's already started?
Yeah.
And do you know when you're,
We are going from 22 down to Old Frankstown for the widening project.
And you know what, Bob? Thank you for bringing that. We already knew that, and I apologize for not putting that out to the residents. I mean that.
The length of the project for the residents to know is starting, you're saying tonight, how long? will
Till
this-
next year.
for-
Yeah, it'll go
About
through
a year.
next
About a year now?
I'm sorry?
About a year to?
Yeah, we
now?
have a winter shutdown, they call a winter hiatus up through like October 29th, where no work, shut everything down, restore everything back to the condition you're in now, and then start back up in the spring, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, just for the public to know,
Sure.
PennDOT's created an email distribution list that you can sign up on, and then they'll give you regular updates on the progress of the actual rehabilitation.
so why don't we put that on the website?
We can put that on the website for anybody, any of our residents here or in the audience, or in TV land who would like to get that information, we can do that. Okay. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks, guys.
And I hope we went real bad up here.
Tom, you offered to give your cell phone number out too, didn't you?
No, I'm going to give Mark's up. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, then the last ordinance that we have is the ordinance amending ordinance 1798, of fixing the wages of the ZHB.
Yes, Mayor, I have one addition, or actually a correction. The way the ordinance is written, I brought this up last month's meeting. It says that they will be paid per month when attending a regular meeting. My intent, which I said publicly and actually in an email to Mr. Dice, and maybe just misconstrued, is that they be paid that when a regular meeting is held. It wouldn't really impact if they were at the meeting or not. But if there's a regular scheduled meeting held, that's when they would be compensated. And my reasoning behind that would be that certainly if there is a meeting that's on the agenda, it's going to be held, it'd be reasonable to think that the people on the board would be getting information, be reviewing information, be working on that forthcoming meeting. And certainly things happen where, emergencies come up and somebody can't make it to a meeting, but, I feel we should be compensating them if they're doing the work for a regular scheduled meeting. So perhaps if we could change that statement to, instead of it saying per month when attending a regular meeting, the word attending is struck out, and then it says per month when per month when a regular meeting is held.
You get that, Tim?
Well, yeah, I got it, but as Mr. Dice and Mr. Harvey and I were talking before the meeting, if, depending on what council does with this ordinance, if it stays the way it is now, that's the way it is currently.
So if this is something to be changed, this would have to be done at the regular meeting?
Well, yeah, it would have to be done, it would have to be voted on at the regular meeting, but let's say, for instance, if this ordinance was not passed, then your wishes would come forth, it would stay the same, because that's the way it is currently.
Well, currently, they get paid every month.
Every month.
Every month regardless.
Even if there's not a meeting?
Even if there's not a meeting, correct.
I stand
And that's
corrected.
what I'm trying to correct.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, what you'll do on Tuesday
All right.
is, I can see the motion being made and seconded to approve this ordinance. Then you're going to make a motion to amend the ordinance to add to your language.
Just change language then.
Change the language. To say you only get paid when you have a meeting, in essence. If that gets a second, then that'll be voted on first. So that we'll have now an ordinance before council that says you only get paid when you have a meeting. Then you'll vote on that. That's the way I see it going, based upon the process that you talked about.
Sure, I didn't know
If there's
the
a
agenda.
motion, if there's a motion to deny this ordinance, and it's seconded, then that would be the thing that you'd be voting on first, because I don't
Correct.
know whether there's support or not for the motion. So we're going to have to see how it plays out. I'll help you on Tuesday to the extent that I know what you want to do, and we'll see to it an amendment's placed on it.
Sure. Well, the bottom line is, this will be addressed on Tuesday.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's move over to reports of our municipal staff, and how about you, Bruce? Any other words of
Well,
wisdom?
just one other thing, the lady from the library wanted me to clarify, she made a point after we broke at the meeting, and she said that she thought that the gentleman who was most vocal about, against the library indicated that they could raise taxes, or they could raise their rates or taxes next year, again, as if they could do it without coming back to council. And I will say to you that the library cannot raise taxes without going through a referendum process. So I've clarified that for her. I want you to know, however, that each year, the library could come back and seek another referendum and raise it again and again and again. And I told her I would say that, so that you all understand. He may have alluded to the fact that they could raise taxes without the consent of the people. That's not true. They would still have to get the consent of the people.
Well, I'm glad you put that out, because I was under that belief as well. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Dice?
That's plenty.
All righty. Mr. Little, you have a couple of issues?
Yeah, item number one, CFO position. As the mayor announced, we had an executive session before the agenda-setting meeting this evening. Council and myself interviewing the two finalists for the chief financial officer position. And I just want to finalize that in executive session after this meeting and talk a little bit more about that to see if council wants to put that on the agenda for Tuesday's meeting. Number two, we had an auction for some items that we put on government deals, and Joe Sedlak, you want to talk about that, Joe, because you're the one that handled it?
Yeah, we do surplus equipment every year, twice a year, 3 times a year. Any vehicles that we have, any equipment that we have that are past its prime, we put on govdeals.com. It gives us a wider area that we could sell these things. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 vehicles. We sold for a total of $58,468. There's a 7.5% auction fee. So Monroeville netted $54,082 on the auction. And these vehicles are going to New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Indiana, Virginia, all over the country. So it's well worth going online to do this. And we still have another vehicle, the van, the police van, that did not sell because we only had it for law enforcement only. And we're going to put it on for another few weeks, and hopefully another police department will want it, and we'll sell it at that point. So that's it.
Thank you, Joe.
$54,000.
I just have one question. With that, related to that van, if we donated it to somebody, would we get any benefit from that? Or just, it wouldn't be a tax benefit or anything?
Oh, we don't pay taxes, so no. No.
But thank you, Joe, for that.
Real quick on, told you I was going to talk here one way or another. 1 second. Joe doesn't know this just happened this afternoon. We took the van, because it's a specialty piece, as Mr. Sedlak said, and we put it on the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police, and we've had 15 phone calls on it.
Oh, good.
So we will be able to move that van, because it specially has a special prisoner transport cage in the back of it, and has emergency lighting, so that's why it was there. So hopefully that will move and solve the whole problem.
Good job, Doug.
That's going to be at least another $20,000 that we'll get. So
Next time, please state your name and that you're a resident of Monroeville.
I'm not even touching that.
Thank
All righty. Paul, you're up next.
That'll be Tom.
No, that's Paul.
Oh, that Paul.
I had sent two pieces of information home for your educational use. The first one was concerning stormwater management. We have to have a public presentation. I guess we're going to skip that for tonight's meeting and do that on another night. But at least you have that information and you can read it. The second document was concerning the municipal pavement infrastructure that we have. And this is just strictly informational because I wanted everybody to understand how we look at roads, how we rate them, and how much we own, how much we have to take care of, what we try to do, project them out, how much we have to pave each year. Because Tim has already started the discussion of capital improvement projects for this year. Obviously, we will not be putting money into paving like we usually do. But I need to start that process. I need to have in front of council by next month a sort of a list of roads that if you want to pave them, we got to do that by next month. Because by the time I advertise it, have a bid opening, have council approve it, have contracts signed, we need to be finished paving by the end of September. So I wanted just you to look at this, understand how we go about doing those things. I attached a draft version of some of the roads that are in dire need, if you will. But that was sort of an informational package for you.
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll move over to reports of the council. So, Tom, we'll start off with you.
Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. And
That didn't sound right.
I hope the weather's
It didn't sound right.
I hope the weather's beautiful so you can enjoy all of it. I do have one item that I would like to say congratulations to Tara McCarl of Mallard Drive here in Monroeville. Kara will be a seasonal employee for 9 weeks working in the Parks Department, and she will work 40 hours a week. And congratulations, Tara. I hope you have a great summer. That's all.
Paul.
Happy Mother's Day to my wife Nicole, my mother Betty, and my mother-in-law Kathy. Talking about the zoning hearing board, it's pretty easy to Monday night armchair quarterback things. So to help you build your perception, I'll give you some facts. Yeah, I spearheaded the restructuring of the zoning hearing board. Yeah, I opted to keep the 3 people on paid. My choice. I was told that I should talk to the solicitor in Robinson. I need my GPS to get to Robinson, and I have a good solicitor right here. So I felt pretty comfortable with my decision. It was also suggested that people would probably volunteer for this like they do the other boards. Well, so during the restructuring, the current members were Bob Bell, Bob Stevenson, Rick Tieran, Ray Pascarella, and John Yakum. We restructured. It was advertised. 3 people applied to be on the zoning hearing board, which would have been Bob Bell, Bob Stevenson, and Rick Tieran. I can't force people to volunteer to be on a committee, folks. Having said that, that's all I have to say about that. Let's talk about the seniors. There's a senior luncheon. It's May 19th at 12 p.m. And I'm going. Ham barbecue on Kaiser roll, served with potato wedges, carrots, raisin salad, dessert, coffee, hot tea for $5. Purchase your ticket by 5/14, and everybody's invited to play bingo afterwards for $1 a card.
What day is that?
That is May 19th.
Go ahead, Tom.
I might want to go. It's a good deal.
And Tom will be there also.
Amen.
And then on Thursday, May 29th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Monroeville Senior Citizens Center is having a health and fitness day. The activities will be the demonstration from the Silver Sneakers yoga program. Home Instead Senior Care presents Little Mental Aerobics. It's a Price is Right game. UPMC East is going to present answers to common health questions. There will be some various screenings there, tours of the fitness facility, and free chair massages provided by Greasock and Morgani Chiropractic. Again, that's right. Thursday, May 29th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Yes, sir. There's a couple things going on at the Monroeville Convention Center. The Pan Spring Coin Show is May 8th through the 10th. There are more than 130 tables, 90 dealers eager to buy, sell, or trade your coins, paper money, tokens, metals, gold, silver, and bullion. Admission is free. Also at the Convention Center, the Pittsburgh Fitness Expo is going on May 23rd and the 24th.
That's big.
This is Pittsburgh's largest, most established fitness expo dedicated to health, wellness, sports, performance, strength, conditioning, and martial arts. Easy for me to say. The Pan's Coin Show is free. Tickets for the Fitness Expo, they are $10 on the 23rd and $15 on the 15th. Oh, I'm sorry, on the 24th, just due to the time. They are 9 to 5 on the 24th and 4 to 10 p.m. on the 23rd. I want to thank everybody that helped me on cleanup day doing Northern Pike Hill again. That is 5 times, and once again, we got another pickup truck load. I will not be here on Tuesday for the meeting. I apologize, but I will be out of town. But in case you need to get a hold of me, that's easy. Just either pick up the phone or send me an email. With that, I'd like to say happy Mother's Day to my wife and daughter, and I'm done.
Mr. Harvey?
I tried to keep this list small, and you kept making me add to it. I'm teasing. I just wanted to express some facts about the library tax that I wrote down, and this isn't opinionated. I just want the residents to know that we budget $983,000 to the library for operating budget. The county gives them $219,000. I'm rounding these numbers, by the way. The state gives them $177,000, and then we give them another $214,000 in capital. So that equals $1,595,000 each year that's provided to the library. And I'm not speaking for or against this tax. I'm telling you what's fact here. That the tax, of course, would give them another $1 million on top of that, or approximately. If that tax would pass, that would put Monroeville over another 19 communities in Allegheny County, total taxes, taking us to 5 mil. For example, Mount Lebanon right now is at 4.51. We're at 4. If we go to 5, we now have higher taxes than Mount Lebanon. There's 19 other communities like that in Allegheny County. On the other hand, the 1.5 million that you heard us budgeting would come out of the budget because it would be coming out of tax money. Doesn't do anything different for the resident, just makes us jockey money around a little bit, I think, but that's a fact. I mean, that part of the budget would no longer exist. These are just the facts that I took out of the printed documents that I have here. The other thing I wanted to tell everybody, the voters, if you're registered independent, you are still allowed to go and vote on this referendum. Normally, you're not allowed to vote in May, but you are allowed to go and you will be permitted to vote just on this referendum. So independents are allowed to go and vote on this matter.
It's a good piece of information.
I was going to put it up, he did.
So, just wanted to inform you of that. Any of you that watch council meetings probably remember a resident coming up and reasonably complaining about fire trucks going to assist other communities, i.e. my Station 5's tanker truck going to Duquesne, and we send a lot of assistance out of town. I just want to tell you that we've always done that, and communities have always helped us. Let's take the Franklin Regional situation that just happened that I'm sure you're all aware of, and I don't have to fill you in on. The Monroeville Police Department sent 7 officers out there when they called for help. And the Monroeville Fire Department sent 4 EMS units, and they were there within minutes. I'll read this and just fast if I can. Monroeville Police Department, please accept this correspondence as a letter of appreciation for the outstanding assistance your agency provided our police department during our time of need. The catastrophic stabbing incident that occurred at Franklin Regional Senior High School on April 9th, 2014 was something that every police department hopes never happens. During a time that could have very easily overwhelmed our agency, you came to our aid of our officers and the Franklin Regional School District. Your assistance played a key role in helping us bring the situation under control, a dire situation that threatened the safety and well-being of our officers, medical personnel, students, and school staff. So on behalf of the Murraysville Police Department, thank you for whatever role your staff played in assisting us during that time of need. If you can ever be helped or assisted, if we can ever be of assistance to you, please feel free to contact me. Anything you need from our officers, just ask. Chief Thomas Seafield, Murraysville Police Department. The fire department's provided the same thing, so I don't get the complaint about selective assistance. I'll leave it go at that. Congratulations, Doug, to you and your officers, too. I was over the Municipal Public Works Department, and I was talking to some of the mechanics, and I was over there for a totally different reason. I just want to warn council, because things come up tonight also, that years past, council has let our municipal fleet deteriorate, and Paul brings up the roads tonight, and, you know, we're having a hard time budgeting for those. And what happens is everything starts to deteriorate, and you can't replace it all. You can never get the money to replace it all. So instead of replacing 3-4 vehicles at a time, everybody kept just bumping them back. And that's what's going to happen to the roads. So now the whole municipal fleet practically is getting more maintenance than the vehicles themselves are worth. And it's because they kept putting off replacement. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, especially since we have decisions on roads to make. A resident came up and talked about the wonderful balanced budget that Lynette McKinney presented. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that budget, but nothing could be further from the truth. I saw it and read it, and that is not a true statement. As far as the other residents asking myself or any other council person about gifts we received, I mean, really? If my wife gives me a gift, I got to tell you where I got it from? If my wife buys me a council T-shirt, I have to tell the residents where I got it from? I got a news for you, that's not happening. Period. Do what you gotta do. Last but not least, I'm sure you're glad to hear that. This is today is my 32nd wedding anniversary. And I wanted to say happy anniversary to my wife.
Kudos to Nancy.
Yeah, way to go, Nance.
Yeah. God forbid.
I had to get that shot in, Ron, sorry.
No, it's true. Thank you.
Doc.
Oh, yes, it was mentioned earlier that I see patients that are people that work at the municipality. That is true. That is true. In real life, outside of council here, I am a chiropractor here in Monroeville, and I'm very proud of that. I am blessed with a fantastic staff that really helped me provide good care, and I'm definitely I couldn't ask for a better person to work with is Dr. Morganti. I feel we do a pretty good job here in Monroeville. The way a small business works or builds, particularly in healthcare, is by referral. Both referral from other healthcare providers, but mostly internal referral from patients. When you serve somebody well and do good things for them, they send in their friends, their families, their loved ones, their neighbors, and I'm certainly not ashamed that I treat people here that work in the municipality. I have for many years. The vast majority of the ones that I do see here, I've been treating for many years, and no offense to them, none of them are getting any younger. So we do see them in our office. We also happen to see a lot of people that are unemployed. We see a lot of people that work at Number 1 Cochrane. We see a lot of people that work at the mall, at the water authority, at the school district, people that live in Squirrel Hill, people that live 2 tunnels away, people that work at Westinghouse, people that have moved to Cranberry that work for Westinghouse still drive down, and I'm honored for that too, that they trust me with their health. So
Anybody from Plum?
we do see a couple
Just
people from
checking.
Plum as well, yes.
Okay.
You do an excellent job.
Thank you.
How about
But,
Pay attention to him down there.
but at any rate, I'm not ashamed that I do have a job in real life, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to do it here in Monroeville. My small business is here in Monroeville, and it'll continue to be there. And I assure you that I pay all my taxes. Mr. Fulkerson is here. I pay all of my municipal taxes in a timely manner, and I'm proud of that. So, at any rate, moving on, Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. We were approached by Visit Monroeville to look for the possibility, or seek the possibility to build a couple more ball fields at the community park. Visit Monroeville is interested in this primarily because this attracts tournaments to the area, which fills hotels, which then people utilize our restaurants. So what Visit Monroeville has proposed to us is to have a landscape architect possibly throw the board some ideas of things. The board is certainly just receptive in hearing what they have to say. Visit Monroeville would pay for any architectural renderings, and then furthermore, they would pay for the actual fields themselves. So at this point, we're in an exploratory phase. I just want to kind of update council for that.
Is that?
Someone has a phone call.
Hey, Jack, you got a phone call.
He doesn't know how to turn it off. Leave him alone.
So at any rate, we're going to, the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board is going to wait and see what Visit Monroeville proposes, and we will keep council up to date on all of that as that moves forward. And then sticking with the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, the summer program guide is coming out soon, so look for it in your mailboxes. And most certainly the pool is opening Memorial Day weekend, the Bel Air Community Pool at the bottom of Saunders Station Road on Abers Creek. You can still join and buy memberships at this time at the Recreation Department. And lastly, a very happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are listening and are in attendance, Mrs. Gatos, and most importantly, to my wife. That's all I have for this evening.
Linda, thank you, Doc.
Okay, I'll start off with, Ron covered, one of the big things that I wanted to talk about was the cooperation between Monroeville and Murraysville, and big thanks to Mr. Cole, the whole department, our EMS. I think the cooperation between the towns is wonderful, needs to be done, and I appreciate all of it. Secondly, as far as the library board, the tax goes, there's been word out there that I am on the library board. That is not true. I am the liaison from the council to the library. I do not have a vote. I do not have a say in what they do. This issue with the tax started way before I even took office. It started with Mr. Erb and Mrs. McKinney as basically the driving force behind this referendum. When I went to my first meeting, I even questioned it myself as to, with the budget not being passed, why they were doing what they were doing. They told me they were already too far along into it. They told me that those two individuals were very instrumental in starting and pushing the idea to be done this year. So they met the requirements, we as a board followed the law, and we allowed it to be put as a referendum. We didn't do anything other than follow the law. So I just wanted to make that clear to anybody that was out there that wasn't quite sure and thought I was on the board and wasn't speaking up in one way or the other, and that's why I haven't, because I'm only a liaison. I just want to clarify something to everyone, because it's being thrown out there so often with the CSI and the daily report, and I know it's been told that it will be made public, and it will be made public. I don't believe in giving out little pieces of information at a time so that someone can come to a conclusion on this document, and then next month I'm going to give you this document. I would rather give you both of these documents, and then you can read them and you can make up your own minds. We have not been given the information from the second set of documents. So as soon as we have them, I promise you will have them. I sat out there and asked for the daily report myself. And the CSI report, we don't have it. We're not hiding anything. That is a guarantee. That is not happening. As soon as we get it, you will have it. Then conclusions can be made. We started this process because something very pivotal had happened that caused us to do it. We didn't just do it to spend your money or to say that we don't believe that. So let us try to disprove it. So if you could just be patient just a tiny bit longer, please, with us. We all are new. We are trying to do it the right way. We're trying to give you the answers you're looking for. We're not trying to hide anything from anybody. So just stand with us just a tiny bit longer, and I think we'll all get there. And also what Ron said, the balanced budget by Mrs. McKinney, that was a far cry from a balanced budget. There was no money being put into our general fund, our OPEBs. People were not going to have jobs any longer. So, I mean, anyone knows, you can go look for it. We've talked about it a million times, so I really would rather just put that to bed. Probably the most important thing I have to say tonight is, I hope I can say it without crying, is Happy Mother's Day to my daughter-in-law, Sarah. She gave birth to my first grandchild.
Oh, I forgot to congratulate you.
And I love her, and I love my baby, and I love my son, so happy Mother's Day to her. It's her first one. And then to my mother as well. All my love, Mom. Thanks for everything. And to my mother-in-law, because she's wonderful. And happy Mother's Day to everyone else, and I'll stop now. Thank you.
And I'll be very quick, because we do have an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons. I just want to say Happy Mother's Day as well to my lovely wife and to my daughter and to my mother-in-law. And I wish I had my mother here, but she's been long gone. But to our folks on the cleanup that came out, our numbers were how many, Joe? About
450.
About 450. I apologize that I was not able to attend that. I had other business that day, and I do apologize for that, but it was quite successful. And Tim, you did a great job on that.
I enjoyed it. Great.
And I appreciate your wife enjoying you as well. Like Mr. Johns, I believe, said, I will not be here next Tuesday. I'm taking a well-deserved vacation with my family. And so, Nick, I'm going to pass the baton to you, if you will, on Tuesday, and I appreciate your coverage on that. And with that, is there a motion to go to an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you and for your patience.